Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome all members and guests to the March 25th, 2025 Council meeting and provide you with a reminder that our meetings are web streamed and televised, so please ensure that your phones and cameras and Microsoft Teams are all muted. With that, I call March 25th, 2025 Council meeting to order and note that all members of Council are present. We'll start off with our acknowledgement. The municipality of Norfolk County is committed to furthering truth and reconciliation in our communities. We recognize the historical and current contributions of Indigenous peoples throughout Canada and particularly in Norfolk County that have added to the rich cultural and social fabric that exists here today. We will strive to continually strengthen and develop the spirit of respect, cooperation, and collaboration to the mutual benefit of all Norfolk County residents. Your agenda is before you. We have a couple changes as I understand it. I'll turn it over to the clerk to walk us through those.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. So the first is remove agenda item 12.4.1, the housekeeping amendment to update the community improvement plan, and we're also removing the accompanying bylaw, which was scheduled. As we've noticed when we're going through there's some additional housekeeping items that we want to do, and then we want to bring back a consolidated clean copy for council to approve and just repeal just for efficiency at the April meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other changes, Councillor Barry?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I guess this is through to you, I guess. So I have a motion that I'd like to add to the agenda, and it's related to Councillor Huffman's. I've put the notice of motion into the clerk, but I guess it's going to come forward at a later meeting. But I'm hoping we could expedite that because it is related to supporting local business. So.
Okay, sure. So we'll look for a 2/3 majority to hear that notice of motion as a motion today, later on in the agenda. Moved by Councillor Barry, seconded by Councillor Huffman. All in favor? That's carried.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other changes? Councillor Van Passen?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I did send in a request to pull item 5.1 from consent and either deal with it later on or at the time. So.
Yes, you did. And 5.3 for Councillor Brunton? Okay, so we've got those recorded. That's great. Okay. All right, a mover and a seconder, please, to adopt the agenda as amended. Moved by Councillor Michele, seconded by Councillor Barry. All in favor? Carried. And disclosures of pecuniary interest. Are there any today? Seeing none, I will be declaring on early closed session item 4.1, potential litigation for myself. And next up, we will move right into early close. You will move into early close. And I'd be looking for a mover and a seconder for the following motion that council enters into closed at 1:03 p.m. closed session to discuss items pursuant to section 239(2)(e) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, as the subject matter pertains to litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. Moved by Councillor Duthie, seconded by Councillor Breton. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Hannah from the Norfolk County Planning Department. We receive many questions
as noted,
at the Planning
I'm
Department,
not attending
and
closed.
this video series will answer some of those. A common question is, what is zoning? Zoning is a way of categorizing how land can be used. Norfolk County has identified through its zoning bylaw different land use zones, for example, commercial, agricultural, or residential, what they can be used for, and any required standards, for example, building size and location. Zoning must be maintained by any development or activity that has started from the date the zoning bylaw has been passed by the county. What is the process of changing a zoning bylaw? A common reason that residents are referred to the Planning Department is because their proposal does not meet the current zoning bylaw provisions. If a landowner wants to change the land use from what is permitted in the existing zoning, a change in the zoning bylaw would be required. For example, changing the permission from only a single detached dwelling to expand the permission to build a triplex. This is called a zoning bylaw amendment, and it requires council's approval. A planning application known as a minor variance can be submitted for a minor change in the zoning bylaw, such as the height or size of a structure. Minor variances are reviewed by the Committee of Adjustment that is made up of citizen members who are appointed by council. The committee is governed by the Planning Act and holds public meetings to approve applications for minor variances and consents. A minor variance must meet the 4 tests to be approved. 1. The change is minor. 2. The development is desirable for the appropriate use of the land, building, or structure. 3. The change maintains the general intent and purpose of the official plan. And 4. The change maintains the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. What happens after a decision is made by the Committee of Adjustment? If the committee approves an application, the applicant and anyone else involved is notified. Certain parties can appeal a decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal within a 20-day appeal period. If no appeals are filed, the county issues notice that the decision is final. For minor variances, an applicant can now proceed with the building permit process. For severances, specific conditions must be met within 2 years, or the application will expire and the process will need to restart from the beginning. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact the planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842, or email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I am Mohammed from Norfolk County Planning Department. We've got a lot of questions here, and this video series will answer some of those. What is a severance? Severance is a planning process to separate a piece of land from an existing lot, generally for the purpose of a new development within a new lot. There are 3 different common types of severances we receive in Norfolk County. The first one is when a piece of land is separated to create a new parcel of vacant land. For example, a landowner may have a large lot and wish to separate a piece of land from the original lot with the intention to sell the lot to a new owner. In that case, both lots need to comply with existing zoning requirements such as setbacks of any existing or new buildings from the property lines. The second one is a surplus farm dwelling severance. It happens when a landowner purchases additional farmlands and a residence on one of the properties is no longer required for their farming operation. In this case, the owner can sever the piece of land that contains the redundant residential dwelling. And the third kind of severance can be a boundary adjustment between 2 adjacent properties, where one property owner agrees to transfer a piece of their land to the other owner. There are various reasons we received a boundary adjustment severance, such as to allow additional lands, to accommodate a building construction, or to construct an extended septic system, or to resolve the setback deficiency of an existing lot. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842, or email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching. Hi, I am Mohammed from Norfolk County Planning Department. We've got a lot of questions here, and this video series will answer some of those. What is a subdivision? If a landowner would like to divide their property into 3 pieces of land, they can submit a severance application that we explained earlier. Whereas a subdivision application is required when a landowner has a piece of land large enough to divide into more than 3 or 4 individual lots to build new houses or other kind of developments. The subdivision process generally requires a more in-depth review with a longer processing time to ensure that the development meets county's development standards. What is a condominium? A condominium, often known as a condo, is an ownership model where the building or group of buildings is divided into multiple units that are surrounded by common areas for circulation, servicing, or amenities such as parks and open spaces. The common areas are jointly owned and managed by the owners of the units. Residential condominiums are frequently constructed as apartment buildings and townhouses with private roads. Many shopping malls are also commercial condominiums in which the individual retail and office spaces are owned by businesses that occupy them, while the common areas of the mall are collectively owned by these business entities. A condominium corporation is often made up of condo unit owners who manage and operate the condominium complex. What is the difference between a subdivision and a condominium? One of the main differences between a subdivision and a condominium development is who is responsible for providing services such as water, wastewater, and road maintenance after the construction and occupancy of the dwellings or units. In a subdivision, the county takes responsibility for providing these services to individual lots. On the other hand, in a condominium, The county is only responsible to providing services up to the entry point of the development. The condominium is responsible for distributing services and the maintenance to the individual units. How are subdivisions and condominiums approved? To get approval for a subdivision or condominium, the landowner must apply for approval of a draft of the plan that shows how many lots are proposed, the lot size, how the lots will be accessed, including any new roads, and how the lots will be serviced for water and wastewater or other utilities. The planning team will provide guidelines to the landowner on the standards they need to comply with. Examples include road design, tree plantation, fencing requirements, and maintaining a buffer from any existing industrial or commercial sites, etc. Generally, the subdivision applications go to council for a decision, whereas most of the condominium applications are currently approved by the county staff under delegated authority. How are residents informed about a new subdivision? When a draft plan of a subdivision is approved, the neighbors receive an approval notice of the application. The neighbors have 20 days to appeal against the approval or refusal of the draft plan. Once the appeal period has expired, there is still a lot of work that needs to be done by the developer before beginning the construction. An approved draft plan of subdivision does not constitute a legal lot. It is merely a draft plan. Norfolk County must ensure that all lots are appropriately designed and serviceable through a subdivision agreement, and only then can the lots be registered and the owner can apply for a building permit. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842, or email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching. Hi, I am Mohammed from Norfolk County Planning Department. We get a lot of questions here, and this video series will answer some of those. What is site plan control? Site plan control is a tool that planners use to evaluate a proposed development to ensure the site features and elements such as walkways, parking areas, and landscapings, and many other technical features meet specific standards. For example, standards may include engineering design, sustainability, and universal accessibility for barrier-free access to the building or within the property. What do I do if I have submitted a permit and I have learned my property is under site plan control? If a property is under a site plan control, the first step is to speak with a planner. A planner will need to learn about what is changing about the lands, which may or may not require a site plan application. What is a site plan waiver? Sometimes the nature of a development is so minor that a site plan application is determined to be unnecessary. In this instance, a site plan control will be waived. If you have learned from a planner that it is appropriate to waive a site plan control, you can submit an application form with any required documents to the planning department to receive a site plan waiver. Do all lands require site plan control? Not all lands require site plan control. For example, single detached dwellings, semi-detached dwellings, and townhouses that are serviced and accessed from a public road. Agricultural activities or farm buildings also do not require a site plan control. Most new commercial, institutional, and industrial developments require a site plan control. A site plan agreement with the landowner may be required to ensure that appropriate standards are maintained during the construction period. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact the planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842, or email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching.
Hey Norfolk County, whether you're a longtime resident, new to the area, or simply visiting, do you know about the many services provided by Norfolk County? As a single-tier municipality, we provide services that our community uses every day, including water and fire protection, curbside garbage and recycling, road and sidewalk maintenance, and so much more. We also provide services needed at unique times in life, such as a marriage or business license, or a dog tag for your new companion. And the unique geographic features in Norfolk County, from farmland and forests to lakes and wetlands, means we also provide specialized services ranging from drainage applications to tree inspections. Wondering how to contact Norfolk County? Start with Service Norfolk. Our friendly team of agents is here to help. Reach us by phone at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk from 8:30 to 4:30 Monday to Friday. Calling about an issue after hours? No problem. We have you covered. Prefer online? Email askus@norfolkcounty.ca anytime, or use our customer service portal at service.norfolkcounty.ca and get a reply right to your email inbox. Want to visit us in person? Come to one of our friendly customer service counters in Simcoe, Monday to Friday, or Delhi, Tuesday to Thursday. Service Norfolk, connecting you to Norfolk County services.
Deputations are a way for you and all residents of Norfolk County to speak before Council about relevant matters in our community. To begin, search www.norfolkcounty.ca. Then select the Government tab. Under the Government tab, select Provide Deputation/Speak at a Council or Committee Meeting. This page provides general information regarding deputations. Under the subheading Register to Speak, click the Public Hearing/Deputation Form link to pre-register your deputation. Notice of Collection. By checking the Notice of Collection box, you are agreeing to the above statement. Selecting the type of meeting you want. There are several types of meetings that allow deputations. Please listen closely as we explain each option. Council meeting. Council deputations must pertain to a matter listed on the upcoming meeting agenda. For the remaining meeting choices, you may present a deputation if the topic pertains to the committee you are presenting to. Once you select the type of meeting you want to deliver your deputation, you can complete the rest of the document. Now choose whether you will attend the meeting in person or virtually. Finally, select if you will be providing materials during your deputation. If you have materials for distribution during the council meeting, please bring 15 hard copies for council and staff. Now click Next to move to Step 2. In Step 2, please fill out your personal information. Once your personal information is completed, click Next. Lastly, review your information and select Next to submit your form. You have now completed the deputation request form. You will receive a confirmation email from the Clerk's Department that they've received your request. Next, we will talk about what to do on the day of your deputation.
So, you've received your approval and the day of your deputation is upon you. For starters, council is located here, at 50 Colburn Street. Now there's two entrances you can use when you arrive. One is here, located off Colburn, and one located off Talbot Street. When you arrive, you'll have three main options to park. The first is to park at the Simcoe Town Center Mall, which is where Food Basics is located. Your second option is 2-hour street parking on Court Street. And your third option is 2-hour street parking on Lott Street. If you can't find any parking in any of those three options, don't worry. Downtown Simcoe has plenty of street parking in all of the surrounding areas. If you enter through the Colburn Street doors, you'll have to make your way through the building to get to council chambers. But don't worry, if you require any assistance, you can feel free to ask Service Norfolk at the front desk. Make your way along this path and you'll end up in the main lobby. To your left, there'll be an elevator. You can either ring the bell or go ask the people at the front desk for assistance. If you don't need to use the elevator, you can head on up the green staircase and go up to council chambers. If you enter through the Talbot Street doors, the elevator will be immediately in front of you, or the green staircase will be ready for you to go up and deliver your presentation. Once you reach the top of the stairs, you'll have made it to council chambers. Feel free to take a seat here or here and wait for council to call your name when it's time to present. When council calls your name, make your way to the podium and ensure that you don't walk between the railing and the chairs on your way there. When you arrive at the podium, adjust it to your desired height using the arrow buttons and turn the microphone on using the button on the right. If you're giving your deputation in front of council, begin by saying, "Through the mayor." If you're giving it in front of a committee, begin by saying, "Through the chair." Then, clearly state your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes to give your presentation. Upon having 1 minute remaining, the chair will give you notice. When you're finished your presentation, council may have questions for you. Ensure that you always begin your answer by saying "through the mayor" or "through the chair" to councilor and their last name. If you can't answer the question, that's okay. Inform council that you'll gather more information and get back to them. After that, council will have heard out what you've had to say and they'll take appropriate action as they deem necessary. And now you've finished your deputation. You can either have a seat and watch the rest of the meeting, or you can leave through the door that you came in and ensure that you leave as quietly as possible.
Hey Norfolk County, did you know that Ride Norfolk is now on demand? This means you can schedule Norfolk's public transit service to pick you up for appointments, shopping, school, or work. Ride Norfolk has partnered with Blaze Transit to offer on-demand pickups at all 95 stops across Norfolk, including this one. I booked my trip earlier today and my bus is here right on time. Since there are no fixed local schedules, you can easily book Ride Norfolk over the phone, online, or on the Blaze Transit app from your smartphone. Thanks, Charlie.
You're welcome.
Ride Norfolk's customer service team can help answer any questions you may have, get you started with the app, or book your next ride. By moving to on-demand, Ride Norfolk is helping more residents get where they need to go. To learn more, visit norfolkcounty.ca/transit.
Hi, I'm Dave. I'm here to take you behind the scenes for a quick look at what we do at Norfolk County's water treatment facility. Here in Port Rowan, the water treatment process starts by pumping water from Lake Erie up into the water treatment facility. Back in the treatment facility, I inspect large clarification tanks where the lake water enters the plant. Here we add coagulant, a chemical that attracts dirt particles together. These form into larger particles called flock, which eventually sinks and is sent to waste. Next, the water enters the filtration system where any remaining dirt particles are trapped by the filters. The water is then chlorinated and sent into a 113 cubic meter underground storage chamber. The water is then taken to the granular activated carbon filters that work like supersized 10,000 pound Brita filters to remove taste and odor. The final step is disinfection, which includes UV and a final dose of chlorine, ensuring safe, potable drinking water. Water testing is an important part of the job. Throughout the day, we take water samples at different stages of the process, up to 9 tests depending on the treatment facility. As a Norfolk resident myself, I am proud to serve the community I live in. Thanks for joining me in this behind the scenes tour.
Hi, I'm Marissa, and I'm here to take you behind the scenes for a quick look at what we do at Norfolk County's waste and recycling operations. Here at the transfer station in Simcoe, residents can bring a variety of waste materials for disposal. Norfolk operates 2 transfer stations welcoming about 27,000 customers every year and accepts material ranging from bulky items, wood, metal, and yard waste. Norfolk also provides curbside waste programs. Recycling from your home arrives at this facility where it is manually sorted by the type of material. You can see why it's important to separate materials into the correct bin, rinse recyclables, and remove items from bags. This facility processes 4,600 metric tons per year. That's equal to about 20 tons per day. Once items are sorted by material type, they are baled and ready to be shipped across North America to be made into new material. About 8 to 10% of the material that arrives here shouldn't have been put in the recycling bin. Residents can use our Recycle Coach app to confirm if an item can be recycled. After seeing how waste is handled, I hope this video helps show why rinsing and sorting your recyclables are important steps in the recycling process. As a Norfolk County employee, I am proud to serve the community I was raised in. Thanks for joining me on this behind-the-scenes tour.
Hey Norfolk County, whether you're a longtime resident, new to the area, or simply visiting, do you know about the many services provided by Norfolk County? As a single-tier municipality, we provide services that our community uses every day, including water and fire protection, curbside garbage and recycling, road and sidewalk maintenance, and so much more. We also provide services needed at unique times in life, such as a marriage or business license, or a dog tag for your new companion. And the unique geographic features in Norfolk County, from farmland and forests to lakes and wetlands, means we also provide specialized services ranging from drainage applications to tree inspections. Wondering how to contact Norfolk County? Start with Service Norfolk. Our friendly team of agents is here to help. Reach us by phone at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk from 8:30 to 4:30 Monday to Friday. Calling about an issue after hours? No problem. We have you covered. Prefer online? Email askus@norfolkcounty.ca anytime, or use our customer service portal at service.norfolkcounty.ca and get a reply right to your email inbox. Want to visit us in person? Come to one of our friendly customer service counters in Simcoe, Monday to Friday, or Delhi, Tuesday to Thursday. Service Norfolk, connecting you to Norfolk County services.
Hey Norfolk County, my name is Anna and I'm here to share some water safety tips to keep you and your family safe around the water. Knowing how to swim is a life skill and an essential part of staying safe and having fun. Swimming lessons are the best way to learn essential swim survival skills to recover from a fall into deep water. Think you're too old for lessons? There are programs designed for teens and adults as well. With so many lakes and rivers, Canadians of all ages are avid boaters. Always wear a life jacket, it could save your life. Never swim alone, regardless of age and skill level. Always swim with a buddy. A buddy can throw you a buoyant aid if you get into trouble. When possible, wade into unknown waters to prevent injury. Backyard pools are a great place to make family memories. But remember, if you are not within arm's reach of your child in and around the water, then you've gone too far. Drowning can occur in as little as 10 seconds and it is silent. Every drowning death is preventable. Take time to educate yourself and those around you to ensure you're staying safe and having fun around the water. For more information, visit norfolkcounty.ca/watersafety.
Soon after, members of council and I took our seats right here in council chambers last November, we began to plan the direction we'd like to see Norfolk County take over the next 4 years and beyond. A direction that builds on our strengths and sets a strong foundation in place for future generations. We looked outward to the people of Norfolk for input. We listened to you, the valued members of our community, from our sandy lake shores, our vibrant downtowns, our picturesque countryside, and our bountiful farmland. We engaged leaders from local businesses and community agencies. We gathered ideas from our team across the county. Based on what we've heard, we created Our Future Norfolk, a set of priorities that focuses on 5 key areas: empowering Norfolk, building Norfolk, connecting. Okay, welcome back. A mover and a seconder, please, for a motion to reconvene in open session at 1:29 p.m. Moved by Councillor Vanendriessche, seconded by Councillor Columbus. All in favor? Carried. And I'll turn it over to the clerk for any comments or reporting out.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. We probably should, just for record, have a motion that the information was received by council.
Is that appropriate for me to?
You should turn the chair over to the deputy mayor, I would suggest.
A motion to deal with the in-camera session.
Receive as information.
Received as information. Moved by Councillor Duthie, seconded by Councillor Van Passen. All those in favor? That is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're moving on to consent items. So we have item 5.1 from Councillor Van Andrieschie and Van Passen, I believe. Councillor Van Andrieschie, you can go ahead, and then I'll turn it over to Van Passen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for that. I can't locate the one, but from memory, my concern was we had some items that they're indicated what they are, what the difference is, and whatever. But we don't see on here whether we got grant for those, some of those projects or not. Where would that show up, is my question. Specifically, we talked about the washrooms at one time, and we said yes, yes, and we knew we got a grant for that. So, but yet I still see a significant amount in there.
Just for clarity, you're asking about a specific item receiving the grant funding? Okay.
Yeah.
I think we should probably narrow down which item so that a staff member.
Yes, I know. I can't seem to find it right off bat.
I'm just wondering through you, Madam Mayor, if the question is related to the accessible washrooms that were done at CAB. That was a 2025 project that was complete, so we'll be reporting on that the next go around.
Okay, so this one here isn't indicated, so there wasn't grants successful on those others. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah. Go ahead, Amy.
Through the chair to Councillor Van Andrieschie. So the nature of the capital status report is just reporting on expenditures to date. So we don't have funding and funding sources called out specifically on a project by project basis in this one. So in the attachment, what you'll see is the approved budget and then the life to date actual expenditures, and then we do a comparison between those two items. And so it doesn't describe the nature of the funding source that's applied to the project.
Right.
But if there are specific questions that council would like to receive some more information on, we can certainly follow up with an email after the fact if there are specific questions.
And if I could ask my second question, it's concerning fire trucks and things like that for the different stations. And it's indicated, is that company a Canadian company that we're dealing with there? I thought I read that, but I just wanted to check. Yes, the Fort Jerry Fire Trucks is the name of the company that you're dealing with.
Through the chair to Councillor Van Andrieschie, yes, that's correct. That's a company that's out of Alberta. They are Canadian.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Councillor Van Passen.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I also have some questions about the fire trucks. We put them out for tender, accepted the tender, going to get these trucks built, and now the price has gone up, like an $825,000 truck. They now want an extra $528,000 because the price of the chassis went up. The other one, it's an extra $857,000 for the chassis. Now, I'm assuming the chassis is the cabin, the frame, and the engine. It's got nothing to do with the fire part on the back. And I guess my question is, like, what kind of contract language do we have where we accept and enter into an agreement to build a fire truck for $825,000 and then later on they can add on that much more? Like, that's got to be more than the entire price of the chassis to start with. So it's not so much about a question and report, because the staff said that they've given them the go-ahead to build them because we need these fire trucks. But I'm going to ask that maybe we get our lawyers to review the wording in our contracts, because there's no way that there should be that much leeway in a contract that you've already entered into. We've already started the lobbying on that rule of frontline fire equipment can't be more than 20 years old. We need the province to open that up, because if this is not sustainable to spend $1.5 million for a fire truck and then have to get rid of a perfectly good fire truck at the end of 20 years because the rule book says so. Let's continue that lobbying, or maybe crank that up a little bit. And I'd also like to know what part of the fire truck is required to be no more than 20 years old? Is that the frame and the engine underneath, or is it the firefighting equipment and the pumps and all of that? Because there is such thing as a glider kit, right? You can put new pumps on top of the old frame, and there's no reason that a truck that's got, after 20 years, it's only got 40,000 clicks on it. It couldn't run a little longer if it had new pumping and stuff. So let's investigate whether that's an option for the next order of fire trucks is get a rebuilt one. And I'm also quite concerned that if this can happen with fire trucks, is this same thing going to happen when we order 6 new dump trucks or a new loader or a new backhoe? Do these companies just have the right to double the price later on after the contract's been accepted? So sort of a laundry list of things I'd like staff to check into. And I guess the one other one is on that 20-year limit. Maybe we can talk the province into, like, I think there is a difference between a pumper and a tanker. Maybe, 20-year limit on the pumper because that's important, but a tanker, all it does is pump water into the tank and dump it back out of the tank. I know it's equipped, it can do anything, but maybe they could last 25 years or 30 years and the pumpers have to be replaced. So that's an option on the lobbying to see if we can just extend the life of these a little bit. We're looking at $3 million or more per year to replace our current fleet of trucks. And that's not sustainable to the taxpayer. So I don't know if staff have any comments on that, but.
Please, yep.
Thank you, Mayor Martin, through you to Councillor Van Passen. Certainly I can do my best to answer the question about the procurement process. So when we award bids, there is an irrevocability period. And so that is the period of time that we require vendors to hold their prices while we are getting final approvals and signing and executing the contracts. Depending on the market conditions for the item or the service that is being procured, and the volatility of the market, which we have seen historically in items like fire trucks, vendors sometimes the irrevocability period is shorter for some items than others, and that is the situation that we encountered with the fire trucks. So as staff, we are always trying to negotiate as long of an irrevocability period as possible, but it's sometimes in situations like this one where there is already some unpredictability in the market, it can be challenging for us to get the longer irrevocability periods. All of that being said, right now with what is going on with the economic climate, purchasing staff are monitoring the situation very closely. They are not just with the fire trucks, but in general. We are working with our provincial association and with the procurement office, and looking to our partners at AMO as well, to get some further guidance on how we move forward best in this kind of environment.
Okay, I do understand that, but it cannot be that the irrevocable period is less than a month, and anything can go through this in a month. If the tender is put out certain date, and to meet the meeting cycle of this council and get final approval can be done in less than a month. So don't tell me that in less than a month's time, the price of a truck went from $825,000 to $1,353,000. So that's step one. And the second part is, did these things change after we signed that contract? And if that's the case, then we'd better tighten up our contracts, that if they put in a bid, they got to stick with it for 30 days. We approve it. That's the price. I don't care if the price to them goes up, that's not our problem. That's what entering into a contract means. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But if our contracts are so loose that they can add this much more after the fact, there's something wrong with the contract. So maybe our lawyers should look at those contracts. And again, this is stuff that staff can take back and look into, bring back something later on. But, this is just, the taxpayer can't afford this kind of increase after the fact. So.
if you'd like to. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Martin, through you to Councillor Van Passen. Certainly that feedback is noted and taken very seriously. We will take that back to look at how we tighten up our contracts. I also know that our procurement staff are working with our finance colleagues on the whole issue of change orders and how we deal with change orders to make sure that we tighten that up. So I certainly do appreciate the comments.
Okay, thanks very much. Is that it for item 5.1? Councillor Breton?
I just want to add something to that, and I think if most of us read the documents, I forget who it came from, AMO or Roma or somebody there a few months back, where everybody was arguing or petitioning regarding the life expectancy of these fire trucks. And to me, it's ridiculous when you look at the length of service they want to terminate those trucks after. And I would hope that somebody, again, maybe an AMO or Roma, brings that issue to the floor, because these trucks sit in the buildings a large percentage of the time. And as Councillor Van Passen, if you look at the cost of them, it's ridiculous. Anyways, thank you.
Wonder if it's worth some type of report from Gord to bring us back averages on hours or information that we could use to take it a step further. Councillor Huffman?
Oh my God, I'm pushing the wrong button. Thank you, Mayor Martin. I just wanted to say that I recall first term that I had kind of off the record actual staff in the fire department reach out to me in terms of this specific issue and replacing trucks when they didn't need to be replaced. And as Norfolk County taxpayers and employees, they were quite concerned that we were authorizing the procurement of new trucks when they felt that the equipment was absolutely fine. So I think it's definitely something we need to look into.
Councillor Van Andrieschie, then Columbus.
Yes, I'd like to, thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, I'd like to see a motion. Councillor Van Passen had indicated, I think I'd like to have a little bit more information here to see that some legal counsel does look at these contracts, as well as the procurement of these things and the condition of these things. Maybe a report from Gord would be in place. If I could make that a motion somehow, or
Okay.
Councillor Van Passen?
Do you mind if I go to Councillor Columbus and then I can circle back to you for a motion if necessary? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We've been told several times that it's because of the insurance underwriters that we have to replace these trucks. So where does the insurance companies fit into the equation here with respect to the 20-year limit?
Might be a question for Gordon. I believe he's on the line. If not, we can, oh, hi, Gord. And also, while I have you here, Gord, I'd be interested in some comments from some type of report, some type of direction you'd like from council for information that would be relevant to come forward.
Okay, thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Columbus. So, yes, part of the replacement schedule is directly connected to our insurance rating with FUS. There's other best practices that are outlined for replacement of apparatus at that 20-year mark, and a lot of that comes from being sure that we can maintain apparatus that are ready and available when we have staff using them. You know, we have people inside of a house on a hose with a house on fire. We don't want to be second guessing whether the truck is going to keep operating. That's one big component of it. The other part is, as they get older, it gets harder to get parts. So when they are out of service, they're out of service for extended periods of time, not, you know, a week or two. Sometimes it can be months once we get into this 20, like anything over 20 years. And as far as direction for a report, if we could pull together what our current life cycle is and what our equivalent municipalities are doing, if that would please council. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks for that, Gord. I'll go back to you, Councillor Van Andriesch. You'd like to put a motion on the floor that would direct staff to have legal take a review on the contracts with regards to procurement, specifically on fire trucks, and further that staff be directed to provide council with a report on our existing fleet life cycle. I would like to see, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I would like to see hours of service on the existing fleet and.
Yeah, comprehensive would satisfy me. I'd like to know a little bit of information more about the fact that there are 3 manufacturers of fire equipment in Canada. There's a refurbishing outfit in I think it's Illinois. Like, what are their standards? Like, what are other standards around the country as well? So, but a comprehensive report would do well as ensuring that legal has taken a look at those contracts to see where they can maybe tighten that up, because it is concerning. Costs are rising, we understand that, but these are Canadian ones here, so I'm kind of confused why the price went up so quickly.
Okay, so maybe it's a report on best practices, municipal comparators, plus our in-house statistics on our fleet and the life cycle, and kind of giving direction to staff that the report should be created in an effort to, for lobbying efforts for the provincial and federal government. Councillor Van Passen?
Can we throw in a little bit of the logic why they've picked that 20-year mark? Is it from the insurance company or is it provincial reg? So when we go to whine about it to the higher-ups and the powers that be, that we know what we're talking about?
Absolutely, in comparison to hours of service, like of their piece of
And I'll
equipment.
be happy to second it. Then.
Okay, great. So moved by Councillor Van Andriesch, seconded by Councillor Van Passen. Councillor Breton.
Just quickly, we have insurers, but did I hear right? Gord said fire underwriters, that they set the standard, or do our insurers set the standard? I think that needs some clarification. Thank you.
Go ahead, Gord, if you have a comment. Otherwise, we can go in the report.
Okay, sure, through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Brunton. So fire underwriter sets the standard, and my understanding is the insurance companies in that area, whatever the insurance grade is for Norfolk, because we meet certain criteria, that's what the insurance rates are based on for the customers.
Any other questions, comments, debate on the motion? I'll get our clerk maybe to summarize the notes he took down on what that motion sounds like.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. I was hoping you wouldn't do that. So the motion I have, and I wait for council's correction, moved by Councillor Van Andriesch and seconded by Councillor Van Passen, that first, that staff request that the lawyers review purchasing contracts for large fire apparatus and equipment. And secondly, a staff report be brought back on the age of fire equipment, best practices on life cycles to assist council in understanding the 20-year retirement age and assist with any efforts in lobbying with both the province and the insurance underwriters. Does that cover it?
Councillor Van Passen?
Well, it's not specific to just fire equipment, the dump trucks and construction equipment, so all large equipment like that. Let's check the contracts if we're going to do them, that we get a little consistency there too.
Just for clarity, so that's on the legal, that's on the first part of the motion. However, the second part with the staff report on our fleet and life cycle and replacement, is that just specific to fire?
No, just the contracts for, we buy fire trucks, we buy dump trucks, we buy single axle dump trucks. That used to cost $150,000, then it was $300,000, now they're $700,000. I don't want to accept a contract for a $700,000 dump truck and then find out later that the price is now $1 million, right?
Yeah, no, I
So-
understand that part. So that's the first part on the contract review. The second part with Gord bringing us a staff report, is that
No, this Gord staff report is specific to fire trucks.
Just fire-
This first
okay,
part
understood.
is
Bill's off the hook.
Review of the procurement and the legal contracts to procure that expensive equipment. Right?
Got it. Thank you. Okay. I think you've captured the gist, and staff are probably hearing the direction we're going with a campaign to give us the information we need for lobbying purposes. So with that, I will call the question. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. And let's move along to item 5.3, which was pulled by Councillor Brunton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If you could go to, in this report, page 3, just above conclusions, and there's a little chart there that shows the impact of removing the 15% from the U.S. market back into the Canadian, and I believe a portion of it into the international market. Anyways, my concern is there's quite a loss in revenue. And as much as I appreciate Councillor Van Passen's motion to throw out the U.S. portion, there is a great potential for investment in the U.S., irregardless of what's going on down there. And I took some time to look at some very good parts of it, but my concern, and I'm going to ask Amy at the end of this if there was any consideration to another alternative. The 15% of the 32 million, if I'm correct, and if my math's wrong, please say so, but you said 15% was going into the U.S. at the start. Now we're taking that out. And to me, that represents 4.8 million, roughly.
Through the chair, so it's 15% of the total portfolio, so it's 10 million, roughly.
That would have been going to the U.S.?
Correct.
Oh, okay, that's even worse, I guess, in my opinion. I guess what I'm looking at, I emphasize that there's there's lots of good investments in the States. And based on your chart here, we're going to lose a lot of revenue. And I know we're doing it because everybody's upset with the U.S., and I do agree with that. But are we doing the taxpayers any benefit by eliminating that? And we're not. Am I correct?
Through the mayor to Councillor Runton, so our forecasted returns will still increase based on where they were or where they are today and have been in past. So our increased returns will be less, but still an increase. So I would provide that information for council to weigh as they consider. But it's also, our return forecasts are also predicated on historical benchmark performances in these markets. So historically, U.S. markets have outperformed Canadian markets and international markets by a significant margin. And so shifting those funds from a high-performing high-growth market into lower-performing lower-growth markets is going to definitely reduce the returns that we were expecting to see.
Well, I'm going by your chart, but I guess did you consider, like, you're going to leave a percentage in the one fund equities, correct? So would you consider leaving the portion that we're going to put into the U.S. back in the one fund in equities? Did you consider that?
Through the mayor to Councillor Runton, so we did look at that, but the reason that we landed on the 5.9 million remaining with one is because those funds would not be principally protected. And so what we tried to do was keep the original principal amount of the investment, the 67.7 million, entirely in principally protected investments. So that 67.7 million remains intact. So the 5.9 million that we left with one was over and above that 67.7 million of the original principal investment. And so we felt that the new goals in our revised investment policy were to principally protect that 67.7, and we felt that it was important to stick to that in the light of the uncertainty that we're seeing in the markets as well.
Okay, well, I guess, and I realize we want to protect the principal, but my point is GIC, it can protect the principal and still gain a little bit. I guess, so are you telling me, in your personal opinion, that you would like to go this route that you've shown us here, or are you just doing that because we've made a motion from this council?
Through the mayor to Councillor Runton, so I think the fact that our returns are still increasing is still a benefit to the county and to the residents. Our returns will not increase as much as we had originally forecasted. But I'm also hopeful that our current economic and political climate is short-lived, and that this is a temporary shift, and that when the tariff wars are over and when things have changed, that we will be able to shift those investments back into that higher growth market. That would be our goal.
Okay, my last, just so I didn't ask this question at the time we dealt with it, but Catherine, I think I asked her, one of two of you, about back some time ago that when we remove all those funds from the one fund, we are not going to be penalized. It's all free gratis.
Through the mayor, that's correct. We've reached out to them and confirmed that.
How recent?
Within 6 months.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Michelli.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, I think that what Councillor Brunton is referring to is unfortunately the kind of the rub that you get when you are trying to make a political statement against maybe a prudent financial strategy. I think that, and I'm sure that staff would agree, that from a purely financial point of view, it always makes sense to maintain the diversification of keeping some U.S. stocks. Every single, I guess I shouldn't say every single, that may not be fair, but pretty much most financial advisors will suggest that you always have a portion of a portfolio in U.S. funds. They do outperform. They are the most, innovative and profitable country in the world. It's prudent to have investments in the U.S. and in this case, frankly, we are giving up some revenue and some income, but I suppose we have to weigh that against the fact that I think every municipality, every form of government in Canada is trying to send a message to Mr. Trump that this tariff situation is not acceptable and that we want to show him that we're serious about it. So again, maybe a classic illustration of we can't have it both ways.
Councillor Van Passen.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, it's my fault, right? We can talk all we want about historically, the United States stock market has outperformed the Canadian. We're not playing the stock market. These are bonds. Now, historically, if the stock market is doing good, the bonds do bad, and vice versa. And I don't think you can take anything historically of what's going on in the financial markets in the United States of America right now. There's a few little things going on that are different than normal, and it makes it very unstable, and we're not willing to throw our money into unstable areas. We need to put it and protect that principle. And I think that Canada is one of the most stable countries in the world. So it's a good place to keep some of it home. And okay, it's a shift of 15% of what we were going to put in to PPNs is now going to, in U.S. ones, part of that's going to go into Canadian market, part of it into the international market. The way the world's going right now, you got just as good odds that those international markets or those Canadian markets actually do better than the U.S. market. So unless, somebody comes back from the future and tells us what's going to happen a year or 2 years from now, I think this still is the right choice, simply from a financial point of view, and then, to throw a little bit of political statement on top of it. But from a strictly financial point of view, I think this is the better option in the current times we have. So.
All right, so we're going to continue to bet on Canada. All right, I'm looking for a mover and a seconder then for items 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3 from consent to be received as information. Moved by Councillor Van Passen, seconded by Councillor Very. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We have no deputations or presentations, and there's one item of communications. Mover and a seconder, please, to receive that as information. Moved by Councillor Huffman, seconded by Councillor Michelli. All in favor? Carried. And approval of our minutes. A motion to approve the following minutes as presented, please. 9.1, council meeting minutes, February 25th, 2025. 9.2, workshop meeting minutes, March 18th, 2025. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Columbus moves, seconded by Councillor Vanden Drieschie. All in favor? Carried. Committee of the Whole. 10.1, public hearing committee meeting minutes of March 4th, 2025, and council and committee meeting minutes, March 11th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Huffman, seconded by Councillor Berry. All in favor? Carried. Reports about our advisory committee. Does anyone wish to pull any concerns or comments? Okay, to save us all, there are 20 items. I won't read them all off. It's 11.1 through to 1120. Is there a mover and a seconder to receive all of the minutes as information? Moved by Councillor Brunton, seconded by Councillor Van Passen. All in favor? That is carried. And staff reports. Corporate Services Division, I will pass it over to Ms. Van Dyke for item 12.2.1, request for closure and conveyance, part Wellington Street and part Erie Street, Plan 17B, Woodhouse, Norfolk County, CS 25029.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Kelly Derbyshire is present in chambers this afternoon with us to present this report.
Thank you, Ms. Van Dyke. Good afternoon, Mayor Martin and members of council. Report CS 25-029 is being presented to council in follow-up to report CS 24-172 presented at the Public Hearings Committee meeting of December 3rd, 2024. The applicants are requesting the permanent closure and conveyance of part Wellington Street and part Erie Street, Plan 17B, Woodhouse, adjacent to their property. This report recaps the nature of the request by the applicants, along with additional related details to the proposed conveyance. No further inquiries were received from the public with regards to the proposed road closure. The applicants will be responsible for all costs associated with the closure and conveyance of the road allowances, and staff will work with the property owners and their solicitor to complete this transaction in accordance with our policy. Thank you, and staff will take any questions that council may have.
Thank you very much. Questions for staff? Councillor Berry.
So I guess I would just like some clarification, just sort of verbalized here. So I'm looking at the table again here at the 13,000 per acre for the standard valuation, and then I'm looking at the appraised valuation. So I understand the difference between those. So can you just tell me, like, how do you decide where to put this? Do you go with the appraisal, or do you go with the standard valuation, or do you come? Okay, sorry. Do you just come into, like, how do we actually land on a number here?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Martin, to Councillor Berry. So when there is a unique situation, we often order an appraisal and go with the appraised valuation at the time. We do have the standard valuations for different circumstances that don't appear to be unique in nature.
So, okay, I got it now. I just didn't quite get it. So thank you so much. Okay, appreciate it.
Councillor Van Passen.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll bring up what I brought up at the other meeting, that I do believe this was done by the city of Nanticoke back in the late 90s. Somehow, whether it's a lawyer forgot to bring a piece of paper with them, or when they went to the electronic registry, somewhere there's a little part that didn't get registered in the proper name after we sold it to the Snows back in the 90s. And they paid for it once already. I don't think they should have to pay for it again. So I'd be happy to move this motion with a little amendment and just in the second paragraph, delete the words at a valuation of $3,885. And they're going to pay all the associated costs. They're going to pay the lawyers for the second time. I don't think that they should have to pay for the property itself a second time. So I'd put forth that motion with that amendment and see what council, if I could get a seconder for that, then we could discuss it further.
Okay, there is motion on the floor as amended. Is there a seconder? Councillor Huffman. Is there any discussion on that? Councillor Vanden Drieschie?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. And there is proper documentation that at one time that Woodhouse did sell this property, that all the documentation is there, correct?
Well, I mentioned, like, We did it at City of Danicoke while I sat at the council table. You've heard me rant and rave enough around here. I wouldn't have left a little portion of a landlocked parcel of an old road allowance in the middle of nowhere when we sold everything around it.
Oh,
so,
makes sense.
that's just not, I would have caught it back then, and that didn't happen, but, there's two steps that at that time, it has to go through the bureaucratic process and then the legal process, whether a lawyer put the wrong description on a piece of paper, it just got missed, or at one point when we switched from the old paper registry to the electronic registry, that somebody didn't type in one little part, somehow it got screwed up. They just want to clear up the title. I'm happy already that they're willing to pay for lawyers and stuff like that to fix that, but again, I don't think they should have to pay for the same parcel of land twice. So.
Okay, thank you.
Just further to that, do we have documentation of that? Because that would certainly make it a lot easier for council.
Through you, Mayor Martin. So staff, it's a complex area, definitely. Staff have completed an in-depth review of the road closure file previously, and the reference plan and the judge's order at that time only included the parcels to the north, which are included in their PIN right now. So, we reached out to the surveyor at the time to find out, why this portion wasn't included. We haven't come up with much. So we have no concrete information as to why it wasn't included back in 1998. But however, it's always staff's position to recommend evaluation just to follow policy. So it's in your hands.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Comments and discussion on the motion as amended? Okay, I'll just provide my 2 cents worth. I certainly, if that is the case, feel for the applicants. However, I just, without any proof, we're going through a land monetization exercise right now. I can't justify supporting the removal of the fee without any concrete evidence. It makes a hard case for council as we go forward with our other properties. However, I am in support of clearing this up and returning or selling the land to them in general. I just won't be supporting the amended motion with the waiving of the fee. With that, I will call the question. All in, please.
I'm sorry, yeah, so it just occurred to me. Sorry, Kelly, to maybe kind of ask you the same question again, but so we don't need concrete evidence. Is there any not concrete evidence? Is there anything, I guess what I'm, with all due respect to Councillor Van Passen, the only argument against that we're hearing right now is that he's pretty sure he would have remembered to get rid of it at the time. That's true, you are very diligent, but is there anything else? Is there anything beyond that suggests that this is an error?
Through you, Mayor Martin, to Councillor Berry. Nothing concrete that I can see.
No, I'm talking about not concrete, anything where you think, yeah, all right. We've talked about things before where, yeah, we don't have the exact according to Hoyle paperwork, but there's enough breadcrumbs around it that we can see what the intention was. I'm wondering, is there anything like that would help us make a decision, even if it's not concrete, where you go, this looks like a duck?
So the reference plan that was prepared did not include these portions. In my opinion, I think if they were to have wanted those portions included, I would hope that someone would have caught it. It could have been a mistake that those portions were not reference plan at the time, and it was a judge's order that determined what was being sold at the time. So the judge's order was quite specific as well. However, mistakes are made and paperwork doesn't go through as it's supposed to. And with the registry office, they have also gone through and the property is in registry instead of land titles because it wasn't converted due to an issue with ownership and legal descriptions. So to answer your question, I mean, there could have been an error at some point down the line, but nothing that I can see.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Huffman.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. Through you. If I'm not mistaken, are the property owners in attendance today? Okay. Would it be fair enough to ask if maybe they have documentation that they paid for this land previously?
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you did give us a deputation at the public. Yes. Yes. Okay. I guess that would be a motion of council, 2/3 majority, if you want to hear them speak. However, we don't have any, we did have a public hearing meeting, and I don't think there was any opposition that day, but I just would caution because it wasn't advertised as a public. Right there. Moved by Councillor Berry, seconded by Councillor Huffman.
Yep, let's go.
2/3 majority for the applicants to answer our specific question. How about that? Could you come on up? Would you mind coming up to the microphone, hitting the button on the right-hand side? And sorry, that would be helpful. All in favor? That is carried.
Okay. I didn't expect that question, so I actually don't have any documentation or invoices from the legal firm that we hired to do this, and I don't have my invoices from the original survey guys. I do have a copy of my original title and boxes of surveys we've had to have done, and to our solicitor and to us clearly and it's very long, of course, when you read the original title in Schedule A, it even talks about us owning the unopened portion of the street known as Erie Street, Plan 17B, and of course it goes on and on with concession, broken front, and all that. So it's of our opinion and our solicitor's opinion that we already own that. And then in '98, we went through and there was a lot of road closures that went right down all the way from a lumber yard in Port Ryerson right through the George and Francis Smith farm, all the way to the lake, which then it cut through Stuart and Valerie Smith and my wife and I's property. And that road was all supposed to be closed. It's a convoluted mess where there was one road came from the west, one from the north. Everything was closed. We've got a survey showing we own land all the way around this goofy parcel. So the intent, and we did pay the lawyers, we paid everybody, we paid the surveyors. It didn't come to light that was somehow missed, and no one seems to know how or why. A lady named Lydia, who worked for the planning department here many years ago, she was the one who told me. So through all kinds of legal and expense, again, we've chased it down, and no one seems to have an answer why, because like I say, we own all the way around this messed up parcel we already own, for sure. So it just makes no sense that it somehow was overlooked. And even back when I met actually with Lydia, she was trying to figure out how it got missed as well. And she was of the mind that when things moved from the registry to the land titles, the digital, somebody missed it. So it got left as Norfolk County. But no one's ever been able to figure out, it was so long ago, no one's ever been able to figure out who or how or why that parcel got missed.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Councillor Berry, I believe, has a question.
Yeah, sure. So thanks, Mayor, through to, I guess, to Mr. Snow. Has Kelly and our realty team seen what you just talked about? They have? Yes.
I'm pretty sure you've got all this, yeah.
So when it says about Erie Street and 17B and everything, that, I guess, can I get comment on that, Kelly, why that's not enough of a duck?
Sure. So through you, Madam Mayor, so there was no bylaw registered on title to close and convey these portions that were inadvertently included in the PIN, which is why the PIN never got converted, because when the registry system goes back and looks to see and make sure that everyone has clear title, they noted, well, there's no bylaw registered on title from the county at the time to close and convey these portions of road allowance that are saying they're included in a deed or the description. And since there was no reference plan specifically parting out those road allowances, a lot of times it's the old meets and bounds descriptions, which can get quite convoluted at the time.
Okay. Thanks. So, we know that there are all kinds of, I don't know how many, but it's not unheard of to have these types of property issues where we can't really track down what's what and who's who, and this got missed and that got missed. So yeah, initially I was kind of had my doubts, but I'm glad you stood up and spoke, and I appreciate it, because now I'm right along with what Councillor Van Passen's. This is like, to me, like just somebody didn't do it quite right, and yeah, I'm with you. I agree.
Okay. All right, so we are voting first on the amendment of the motion. So we're not voting on the full motion yet, just are you in support of removing the dollar value? All in favor? And opposed? The motion is carried, and now we will vote on the full amended motion that's before you. It is on the screen, so the...
No amended motion. I put forth a motion without that in it in the first place, so...
Right, because our motion wasn't moved and seconded. So he's correct. Okay. He amended them. Okay, so then that's carried, and we're done with that one. Okay, all right, thank you for coming. We've removed, sorry, Mr. Clerk, did we remove an item?
Yes, the CIP's been pulled, so we're not dealing with that today.
So we have 12.4.1 next? It is removed. Okay, thank you. No, that's fine. I didn't fix my notes. We have nothing for environmental infrastructure. We have nothing under operation.
We do have Pond Street 4.2.
Okay, 12.4.2.
Zoning on Pond Street.
Yes, report CD 25039. My apologies. That is the report on Pond Street, Argyle, Victoria.
Testing. Good afternoon, Your Worship, members of council. Pleasure to be here today to introduce two related files. We have an application proposing a zoning bylaw amendment to redesignate a portion of 86 Argyle Street from parks to open space to urban residential, and to form a policy that allows a variety of uses within the existing buildings and to allow for the continued use of the existing associated parking lot use. And to introduce this, I turn it over to Joshua.
Thank you, vote on through. Mayor Martin and to council, an application is proposed for a zoning, also an official plan amendment to seek text and map amendments to zoning bylaw 1-Z-2014 to permit a range of non-residential uses in the open space zone which existing Pond, Argyle, and Victoria Street buildings, and to permit the existing parking lot use. For more information, please see public hearing report CD 25011 for additional background. The Pond, Argyle, and Victoria properties are located in downtown Simcoe, comprising irregularly shaped parcels at the intersection of Pond Street and Victoria Street. Bounded by Lynn Road to the east, Argyle Street to the north, the site features approximately 188 meters of frontage along Pond Street on its western side and around 239 meters of frontage along Lynn River on its eastern side. Historically, the properties have served various purposes, including a municipal parking lot, a former seniors care center, a maintenance yard, and operations yard. The building is designated as a heritage property. One of the buildings on the property is actively leasing space, which includes theater space. To the north, the land is bordered by a single-story commercial building, while the south faces Victoria Street. The 86 Argyle Street property is situated to the east of Lynn River and fronts the southern side of Argyle Street. Currently, this serves as a municipal parking lot. It features approximately 63 meters of frontage on Argyle Street, 79 meters along the Lynn River. To the east, the lot adjoins the Norfolk Sunrise. Norfolk Sunrise Trail, which is a walking and cycling path that runs through Simcoe. The southern boundary of the parcel is adjacent to open space. The surrounding area is characterized by a residential and commercial zones, enhanced by parks and open spaces. The Lynn River acts as a natural boundary to the east. The area is mostly residential, enhanced with parks and a golf club. In contrast, the western side is largely commercial, featuring the downtown and central business districts next to the site, along with surrounding residential neighborhoods. To the east, or to the north, Queensway East Highway and Highway 3, Provincial Highway, is lined with commercial establishments. Meanwhile, the southern area is predominantly residential, with parks and hazard lands interspersed throughout. Norfolk Sunrise Trail runs north to south parallel the Lynn River and to the subject lands. The subject lands are located within an established neighborhood and comprise of low and medium density residential commercial employment uses. The Simcoe Composite School is approximately 300 meters from the subject lands. There are multiple places of worship near the site, as well as Norfolk General Hospital, just over a kilometer from the subject lands. To summarize, the redesignation portion of 86 Argyle from parks and open space to urban residential, and to form a policy that allow a variety of uses within existing buildings, and to allow for the continued use of the existing associated parking lot use, and to permit a range of non-residential uses in the open space zone within the existing Pond Victoria Street buildings, and to promote existing parking lot use. The application was circulated for comments among Norfolk County departments and all applicable agencies. All comments are summarized in attachment B of this report. The statutory public meeting for the development application was held on the February 4th public hearing committee. One question was raised by the owner of the gymnastics club located on Pond Street. His main concern was about losing parking. He was assured that parking on Pond Street would not be lost. This proposal is consistent with the provincial policies or provincial planning statement of 2024. I'm not going to read all of them because there's a lot of them, but they're all consistent. Financial services, there are no direct financial impacts of rezoning the subject lands. If future development occurs on the rezoned subject lands, it may result in property tax revenue and increase for the council. Any future development to occur on the rezoned area may be also subject to development charges payable to the rate included in the development charges bylaw in effect at the time. This report aligns with the 2022-2026 Council strategic priority sustaining Norfolk, creating a sustainable community and positive legacy. The potential for the creation of a new commercial and industrial development opportunities will promote viable economic growth for the county. In conclusion, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and official plan amendment would result in a number of commercial and industrial development options to occur on currently vacant and underutilized land. Staff therefore recommends approval of this application as described in the report that I have just read. Thank you. I will now answer any questions.
Questions from council. Councillor Duffy, then Columbus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, Josh, thanks for your report. You referenced it, but admittedly it was a little quick, so I'm just trying to understand. There was a deputation at the public hearing from Mr. Aboni, the owner of Lisa Nave's dance company, related to the parking use across the street. And again, you referenced it in your comments there, but I didn't hear the outcome. Can you just refresh that for me?
Through the chair to Councillor Duffy, yes, he was asked me about parking, and he was assured that the parking use will not change there. The gymnastics club will still be able to utilize that for parking purposes.
Dance studio. Okay, thank you. And then I think there was also a deputation from a Mr. Jelinas from the related to the Argyle Street property and the use of the parking over there that correlates to the apartment building on the other side of the street. Was there further discussion related to that?
No, I had no further discussion, no further communication from him.
Councillor Columbus.
Madam Mayor, Councillor Duthie read my mind and posed my question. Thank you.
Nice job, Councillor Duthie. Councillor Van Passen.
Quick question on the recommendation, the official plan amendment and the zoning amendment be approved as shown in attachment A, but, and I should have sent this in, attachment A deals with the zoning amendment and it's attachment B that deals with the official plan amendment. So do we need both of those attachment listed in the motion?
Through the chair to Councillor Van Passen, yes, because you have to amend the zoning bylaw and the official plan.
Yeah.
The official plan, yes, you have to leave them both in the motion
So
because.
either we break the sentence into the zoning bylaw amendment be approved as attachment A and the official plan amendment approved as attachment B?
Yes, that's correct.
Because again, I think what we're doing here doesn't affect the parking, doesn't do any of that. It just allows for different use. At some point, if somebody wants to develop any of those parts, that's where the questions would come up of, can we adjust that a lot on Argyle, move it back a little farther so we got some extra parking up front? All that would come later, and it's not to be dealt with at this time. So if there's no more questions, I'd be happy to move the recommendation and as clarified there by this planning staff.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Columbus, is there discussion or debate? That the official plan amendment, OPNPL 2024-400, shown as attachment A, and zoning bylaw amendment ZNPL 2024-382 be approved as shown in attachment B to report CD 25039, and that further all public input received for this application was considered as part of the decision as outlined in staff report CD 25039. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay, attachment B reflects the official plan amendment and attachment A reflects the zoning bylaw, so nothing changes, we're just changing the attachment order. All in favor? That's carried. Thanks, Councillor Van Passen, for catching that. We have nothing from Environmental and Infrastructure Services, nothing from Ops, and nothing from Office of the CAO. Bylaws. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder, please, that bylaws 2025-18 through to 2025-22 consecutively be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed in open council. That's item 13.1 through to 13.5. Councillor Michelle and Brunton move and second. All in favor? That's carried. And then before we get to the next part of our agenda, we have, I understand, a small couple of presentations that go with Councillor Huffman's motion. Can we take a 5-minute break? 10-minute break. All right, we'll be back at 2:40. Norfolk, serving Norfolk, and sustaining Norfolk. These priorities, along with the initiatives and activities that drive them, will guide council and staff as we work together to serve you and all of the members of our community over the next 4 years. On behalf of Norfolk County Council and staff, we invite you to check out our website at norfolkcounty.ca/OurFutureNorfolk and return frequently to learn more about our path to a vibrant and strong future for all of us, now and in the years to come.
Hi, I am Mohammed from Norfolk County Planning Department. We get a lot of questions at the Planning Department, and this video series will answer some of those. The first big question is, what is the official plan? Norfolk County's official plan describes Council's policy on how lands in our community should be used, managed, and developed. It is prepared with community input and helps to ensure the future planning and development will meet the specific needs of our community. An official plan includes issues such as where new housing, industry, offices, and shops will be located, and what services like roads, water mains, sewers, parks, and schools will be needed. It also defines when and in what order our community will grow and outlines community improvement initiatives. The official plan is approved by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing in Ontario. The current official plan was adopted in 2016 with a goal to manage the growth of this county for the next 20 years. Residents can see Norfolk County official plan on our website at norfolkcounty.ca/official plan. What is a secondary plan? A secondary plan is a more detailed policy document embedded within the official plan to address the growth and development issues unique to a specific area of the county. For example, the lakeshore area in Norfolk County or a particular urban area with defined characteristics can be a secondary plan. As I mentioned, it is a more detailed policy document. It provides directions on where future development will occur with a guideline on density, road access, infrastructure services, different building types, building heights, or even design guidelines that are compatible to that specific area. In Norfolk County, there is only one secondary plan at this moment, which is the Lakeshore Special Policy Area Secondary Plan. The Port Dover Secondary Plan would be the second plan the county is working on at this moment. What does the land use designation of a property mean? Norfolk County's official plan also identifies how individual land or a group of lands will be used, and this is done by the land use designation. In Norfolk County, a lot of lands have been designated as agricultural. Some areas have been designated as hazard lands because of their specific natural features. An example would be the natural creeks, streams, rivers, or shoreline areas. Some lands have been designated as residential, commercial, or industrial to efficiently manage the growth of specific land use. Each land designation has rules about the kind of development allowed. The official plan uses growth management data to identify where and how much growth will occur in the next 20 years. In accordance with the provincial requirement, Norfolk County reviews and updates these growth areas every 5 years. What is the process of changing an official plan designation? A landowner can request to change the designation of the land through an official plan amendment application. This change requires a public hearing meeting and council's decision. A landowner needs to consult with a planner to get more information about this process and to identify the required documents they must submit. Any official plan amendment needs to conform to the provincial policy statement, which is a planning policy document that affects all municipalities across Ontario. This provincial policy statement is currently under review and may change in the future. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact the planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842, or email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Jacob, and I'm here to take you behind the scenes on a capital project in Norfolk County. We begin planning capital projects by analyzing our infrastructure needs related to roads, water mains, storm and sanitary sewers, as well as bridges. We assess their overall condition, age, and servicing requirements. This provides a solid foundation to ensure Norfolk has the hard infrastructure for current and future needs. Once a project is determined and approved by Council, we retain an engineer to complete the design. During this stage, we engage the public through public information centers or postings on the county website to inform them of the upcoming project and provide an opportunity to share feedback. After the design is completed and all approvals are in place, we hire a contractor through a public bidding process. During the construction phase, we track progress, budget, and continue to engage with the public. We also work with other departments to ensure the overall success of the project. Once complete, we report and track any warranty issues for 2 years. We measure a project's success by its ability to enhance infrastructure and positively impact residents. As a Norfolk County employee, I enjoy building the community that has given me so much. Thank you for taking the time to join me on this behind-the-scenes tour.
We all have the right to feel safe at work, when spending time with friends and family, when participating in activities or attending a public meeting or event. Norfolk County is committed to ensuring our spaces and workplaces are safe. Our respect and responsibility policy outlines the code of conduct for employees, patrons, contractors, volunteers, coaches, and spectators. This code of conduct also applies to phone calls, emails, and virtual and social media platforms. We all play a part in fostering a respectful and safe environment. Inappropriate behaviors such as swearing, name-calling, verbal and physical threats, physical violence, harassment, and vandalism will not be tolerated. Staff have the right to take action when incidents occur. This may include denying service, asking individuals to leave, contacting the police, or, if necessary, suspending them from county programs and facilities. Those responsible for damaging county property will be required to cover the cost of repairs, fees, and lost revenues. We are committed to providing high-quality customer service and a safe and respectful environment for all. For more information about our respect and responsibility policy, visit norfolkcounty.ca/RNR.
Hi, I'm Hannah from the Norfolk County Planning Department. We receive many questions at the Planning Department, and this video series will answer some of those, like, what types of planning applications are there? There are 4 main types of planning applications for different needs. First, there are minor variances and different types of severances. These are reviewed by Norfolk County's Committee of Adjustment. An example of a minor variance is when a garage is being built closer to a property line or is taller than what is permitted in the zoning bylaw. An example of a consent to sever is creating a new lot to allow for a new house. Second, are zoning bylaw and official plan amendments that are considered at council. An example is changing the permission in an urban area to allow for a triplex where a single detached dwelling is permitted. Third, are applications that Ontario's Planning Act gives Norfolk County's Planning Department authority to approve. For example, a draft plan of condominium or subdivision, which are types of applications which enable the division of land for future housing. And fourth, are applications which rely on approval from another regulator, such as telecommunications towers and hazard land boundary line adjustments. As a resident, when do I need to submit a planning application? For the average homeowner, a planning application may be required if your project does not meet the requirements of the zoning bylaw or official plan, or your property falls under site plan control. The building department will let you know that a planning application is required. If you want to change the boundaries of your lot, create an easement, or create a new lot from your property, you will need to apply for a consent to sever with the planning department. What is a pre-consultation meeting? A pre-consultation meeting is the first step of a planning application and allows staff to clarify the application process and provide a checklist of documents required. A complete application can reduce the time required for review and decision-making. Applications that must undergo a pre-consultation meeting before the application can be submitted include official plan amendments, zoning bylaw amendments, draft plans of subdivision, draft plans of condominium, and site plan applications. A meeting may also be required for certain Committee of Adjustment applications. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact the planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842. You can also email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching. Hi, I'm Hannah from the Norfolk County Planning Department. We receive many questions at the Planning Department, and this video series will answer some of those. A common question is, what is zoning? Zoning is a way of categorizing how land can be used. Norfolk County has identified through its zoning bylaw different land use zones, for example, commercial, agricultural, or residential, what they can be used for, and any required standards, for example, building size and location. Zoning must be maintained by any development or activity that has started from the date the zoning bylaw has been passed by the county. What is the process of changing a zoning bylaw? A common reason that residents are referred to the Planning Department is because their proposal does not meet the current zoning bylaw provisions. If a landowner wants to change the land use from what is permitted in the existing zoning, a change in the zoning bylaw would be required. For example, changing the permission from only a single detached dwelling to expand the permission to build a triplex. This is called a zoning bylaw amendment and it requires council's approval. A planning application known as a minor variance can be submitted for a minor change in the zoning bylaw, such as the height or size of a structure. Minor variances are reviewed by the Committee of Adjustment that is made up of citizen members who are appointed by Council. The committee is governed by the Planning Act and holds public meetings to approve applications for minor variances and consents. A minor variance must meet the 4 tests to be approved. 1, the change is minor. 2, the development is desirable for the appropriate use of the land, building, or structure. 3, the change maintains the general intent and purpose of the official plan. And 4, the change maintains the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. What happens after a decision is made by the Committee of Adjustment? If the committee approves an application, the applicant and anyone else involved is notified. Certain parties can appeal a decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal within a 20-day appeal period. If no appeals are filed, the county issues notice that the decision is final. For minor variances, an applicant can now proceed with the building permit process. For severances, specific conditions must be met within 2 years, or the application will expire and the process will need to restart from the beginning. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact the planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842, or email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I am Mohammed from Norfolk County Planning Department. We've got a lot of questions here, and this video series will answer some of those. What is a severance? Severance is a planning process to separate a piece of land from an existing lot, generally for the purpose of a new development within a new lot. There are 3 different common types of severances to receive in Norfolk County. The first one is when a piece of land is separated to create a new parcel of vacant land. For example, a landowner may have a large lot and wish to separate a piece of land from the original lot with the intention to sell the lot to a new owner. In that case, both lots need to comply with existing zoning requirements such as setbacks of any existing or new buildings from the property lines. The second one is a surplus farm dwelling severance. It happens when a landowner purchases additional farmlands and a residence on one of the properties is no longer required for their farming operation. In this case, the owner can sever the piece of land that contains the redundant residential dwelling. And the third kind of severance can be a boundary adjustment between 2 adjacent properties, where one property owner agrees to transfer a piece of their land to the other owner. There are various reasons we received a boundary adjustment severance, such as to allow additional lands, to accommodate a building construction, or to construct an extended septic system, or to resolve the setback deficiency of an existing lot. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842, or email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching. Hi, I am
Okay, welcome back. We are on the section 14 of the agenda, which includes motions. So we have 2. We're going to hear from Councillor Huffman and then Councillor Berry. Councillor Huffman, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. Do you need me to read it? Everyone's got it, or?
We can get it put up on the screen if you don't want to read it.
So I'll do a light blurb, and basically the notice of motion is Buy Locally campaign. As many of you know, as many of you around the table, same as me, are proud Canadians and proud residents and councillors of Norfolk County. The community is now in a time, is a time to come together and be leaders within our community. I think it's imperative that we do what we can to support everyone in our community, from the individuals who sell eggs at the end of their driveway, to the mom and pop shops, to the local business owners, and so on. We have a threat to our community and country as a whole, and we have some solutions. Buy local, buy Norfolk, and choose Canada. Economic development and communications play a valuable role in this initiative. I understand some of this initiative is in place, but I would like Council to support an increase of visibility and access to Buy Local, Buy Norfolk, Choose Canada. I would like to look at the possibility of, within this motion, that we use some funds from our council initiative reserve to boost this initiative and I'd like this to be done in a very timely fashion. I don't want us to wait forever to get this done. I feel that the time to act is now. And with that, I'd like to have some more discussion from around the table.
Okay, let's get a seconder for the motion, and then we'll go from there. Councillor Bandandrishi seconds the motion. I believe staff have some information prepared that builds on our discussion from our workshop. Would you like to hear from staff before we go into questions and discussion? Okay. Mr. Regan?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Thank you for that introduction as well, Councillor Huffman. That's very well put. Today, Catherine and I are going to be presenting jointly a very short presentation, and we're joined by some fellow economic development staff, Susan Gardner and Lindsay Kalawaski in the back for support for any questions that you might have. So in direct response to the notice of motion, we have prepared this deck that will inform the intent of the motion and cover off the broader issues. We want to emphasize that what we're sharing today is certainly not a comprehensive analysis of tariff impacts. The situation between Canada and the United States is evolving daily, if not hourly, and with this new information, resources, and impacts emerging constantly. Our economy doesn't just interact with the American markets, it's fundamentally intertwined with them. And to quote our CAO, it's going to be like unscrambling an egg, I guess. The effects ripple through our entire community. While we cannot control international trade policy, we can strengthen our local resilience, provide information to affected businesses, and advocate for our community's interests during this period of economic uncertainty. This next slide just shows who some of the folks that we've been in contact with, as I'm sure other municipal colleagues have been in touch with their associations, but we're working very closely with WOWC, Economic Developers Council of Ontario, Economic Developers Council of Canada, Export Canada, etc. So our team has been proactively working with Catherine and her team in communications, and we've been working with our business sectors to determine the impacts. We've also created a dedicated tariff hub to support them with ongoing information and resources as these emerge. We want to ensure you that we present a stable, calm, cool, and collected approach. And the last thing we want to do is create an anti-American campaign when we're just looking for a Canada First approach. So just in a refresh is tariffs are taxes. They're imposed on imported goods crossing the border. They raise costs for companies. They typically pass these costs on to customers. Tariffs definitely can disrupt integrated supply chains and impact businesses on both sides of the border. Norfolk County is deeply integrated with the U.S. market, with approximately 85% of Ontario's exports in total going to the U.S., and Norfolk's manufacturers, agriculture producers, and tourism businesses all are connected to cross-border trade. Disruptions from tariffs ripple through our entire community. So just a snapshot of what sectors in Norfolk are likely more vulnerable from what we're hearing from boots on the ground to from surveys that we're collecting. Manufacturing, supply chain disruptions, increased costs of raw materials, and potential loss of U.S. customers. On the agriculture side, reduced competitiveness in the U.S. markets and higher costs for farm inputs and pressure on already slim profit margins. On the tourism and small business side, potential shifts in visitor patterns, but this may be the silver lining. We actually are looking to see an increase in domestic and international tourism, so hyper-local tourism, but also tourism still coming from the United States. This next slide just talks about, we looked at just the agriculture and manufacturing exports. So it's really hard to capture everything, but this is what we do know, is that the Norfolk value for ag and manufacturing 2022 was $2.6 billion, with manufacturing exporting just a little over $2 billion and agriculture exporting just around $620 million. Given that about 85% of Ontario exports go to the U.S., a significant portion of our economy is exposed to tariff impacts. Just as a reminder, just a few ideas or few examples of the key manufacturers and ag products that the Norfolk business produce, along with the number of folks employed in those two sectors that we've just looked at. As you know, we grow apples to zucchinis, along with specialty crops, and we are quite often the #1 grower in Canada in many cases, if not North America. We also produce auto parts to ice cream, and the manufacturing sector employs 5,500 people, and the ag sector employs 2,500 people, not including temporary foreign workers. As we know, there's a lot of things far beyond our control, including tariff policy, international trade agreements, and federal and provincial supports. Needless to say, we don't know what we don't know. But taking into account what we do, and taking into consideration the very complex, intertwined nature of our relationship with the United States, we're proposing a strategy that addresses the issues on these 4 fronts. We need to look at more than a buy local program, but the buy local program by far is going to have a great impact, but we wanted to share these other strategies with you. So promoting local economic initiatives through the Visit Norfolk app, which already feature over 250 local businesses. Supporting business adaptation, supply chains, and market diversification. This is speaking to the interprovincial borders that we're hoping are going to be lifted by July. Trade barriers, I should say. Advocating for federal and provincial levels through regional alliances. As mentioned, we're working very closely with WWC and our regional and our provincial and national associations. And balancing short-term mitigation with long-term economic resilience. So pivoting to a non-tariff effective agreements with other countries. Norfolk businesses are intertwined with the U.S. economy, with tariffs affecting real jobs and real businesses. A trade war has no winners, with negative consequences on both sides of the border. And then number 3, continuing the support of local businesses is crucial right now, hence that motion. The shopping local is not necessarily a complete solution, and though we appreciate the shop local motion and all the work that we're doing through the Visit Norfolk app, we also want to make sure that the tariff issue might bring much larger issues to Norfolk County, as I've already mentioned. The 5th message is Norfolk County is proactive and resilient, and the 6th message is community confidence is really key during this process. As mentioned earlier, we recently launched the Tariff Hub for businesses that went out in February edition of the Norfolk Edge. This page is being updated as new information is available. That sometimes is hourly. We wanted to provide you just a couple examples of some of the recent pivots inspired by the notice of motion, encouraging those who want to buy Canadian of the local options throughout the Visit Norfolk app. The one on the left is a recent social media post, and the one on the right is a print advertisement that appeared in the event program for the International Women's Day earlier this month. So we have begun to pivot our local marketing and communications. As we promote supporting local business, we also want to be mindful not taking too strong of a position on this in a way that would affect our relationships with other regional partners, local businesses that have invested in imported stock, and visitors coming from Canada, US, and around the world. That would particularly be important to the survival of our retail sector and also serves the tourism industry. So just imagine if all 444 municipalities created a separate individual shop local campaign. That would be pretty confusing. At the same time, however, we're being proactive about communications with businesses that rely on feet on the street. And they can be listed at no charge in the Visit Norfolk app. And in fact, as I mentioned, we have over 250 listed already. And we also continue to leverage our Ontario Garden brand. Just want to give you a rough idea on the popularity of the app that's occurred over the last 75 days, or the first 75 days of the year. The app has had over 1,300 users, with over 25% of those users actually in Norfolk. A significant number of those other neighboring communities include Hamilton, Brant, Tillsonburg, Brantford, and London. And due to our ongoing efforts to promote the app in additional markets, we had almost 200 users from Toronto during the same period. Compared to the same time last year, the number of users have more than tripled, and the number of local users have increased by 450%, and we know this is tariff-driven. Thanks. Just to speak a little bit about mobile marketing, and this is thanks to Mayor Martin, who helped us along with this. Economic Development has partnered with Scotland to arrange for Norfolk-branded trailers. 12 units with 3 key messages that feature ag, manufacturing, talent attraction, and tourism. which will be delivered to Scotland soon. ECDEV is working with Scotland on their unveiling strategy, and once the units have been delivered. This out-of-home marketing strategy will bolster the county's reputation and brand throughout the GTA, Northern Ontario, and some of the U.S. markets as well as local. And then coming soon to you, as you know, we have some outdated TOD signs. TOD signs are Tourism Ontario destination signs. We have 4 of them. They're scheduled to be redone. And so we're looking at putting together a proposal and having those redone in 2026. Some examples of some of those TOD signs, what they might look like. So this is what we heard. Oh, is that me? That's me. Sorry. I got so far out of myself. So this is what we heard from our local, regional, and provincial stakeholders and partners. So our BIAs, the Board of Trade, Chamber of Commerce, home builders, manufacturers, ag and local businesses, EDAC, which is your advisory committee for economic development, and your Norfolk Agriculture Advisory Committee. They're looking for coordinated advocacy efforts, utilize existing initiatives such as the app, explore tourism opportunities for local, Canadian, and U.S. visitors, prepare support strategies, educate the public about tariffs and what supporting local means, and work with the Chamber Board of Trade's BIAs on their efforts that augment what they are doing with their individual chambers, such as Main Street programs. So I'll just summarize this one slide too. It's broken down into 3 as to what the responses to the tariff impacts. And we broke it down into 3: communications, economic development, and council. So from a communications, support residents in relations to understanding the tariffs, which is development of comprehensive information resources to educate residents about tariffs through website content, infographics, media releases, while supporting balanced messaging about local economic support and global interconnections. On the economic development side, support local initiatives, enhance tourism promotion through increased guidebook production and targeted marketing campaigns, and forge regional partnerships to attract the visitors from nearby U.S. and the GTA. That guidebook and production is in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce, the Simcoe Chamber of Commerce, and Catherine will speak to what we plan on doing there. From a council perspective, engage directly with MP and MPPs to advocate for resolving tariff disputes, communicate specific impacts on local businesses, and encourage swift negotiations and collaborate with neighboring municipalities to present a unified position. That ends it for me, and I will turn it over to Catherine to bring us home.
Thanks very much. The motion asked us to explore ways to provide residents with accessible and informative resources on buying locally. The resident-focused communication campaign is designed to empower our community with accessible and informative resources on the impacts of tariffs and the actions they can take as consumers. We will make use of Norfolk's existing channels, starting with the launch of a dedicated resident-focused tariff information page on our website. This page will feature comprehensive and balanced Buy Canadian messages, along with links to valuable tools and resources and videos explaining what it means to shop local. To ensure widespread reach, we will share this content across our social media platforms and distribute printed materials such as tip sheets and infographics at community locations. Our commitment is to keep residents well informed with accurate and reputable information that can be used to make decisions. The motion also asked us to develop resident-focused communication to encourage and facilitate local shopping and community support. As John mentioned, promoting the use of the Visit Norfolk app is already underway with strong success to date. Building on this existing momentum, we will enhance the existing campaign promoting the app to residents by sharing its benefits and features through social media, our website, e-newsletters, and other Norfolk publications. For residents who prefer offline access, the printed 2025 Experience Norfolk Guide, formerly called the Insider's Guide, will provide a similar experience to the app with listings of local businesses, experiences, and more. Messaging will encourage residents to explore Norfolk, shop in their community, participate in local experiences, and support local businesses. We have 2 options to share with Council today.
Campaign Option 1 will enhance awareness using existing budgets, channels, and resources, and as a result of reallocation of our existing budgets, requires no additional funding. We will also make use of low or no-cost options to share information with residents. Campaign Option 2 will extend beyond our own channels, including newspaper and radio ads, to reach residents who rely on these as their primary sources of information. This option will also enable us to print pop-up banners for in-person promotion of the Visit Norfolk app that can be displayed in our local library branches, museums, facilities, and partner locations. The cost for this reoccurring outreach throughout 2025 is an additional $20,000 investment. And that wraps up our presentation, and we'll just pass it back to the rest of the discussion.
Okay, thanks, staff. If we can put that slide back up, I think that was probably plenty. Councillor Duthie and then Councillor Huffman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, given the some of the content on the slides that were presented, I didn't realize we would be specifically discussing media options. With that in mind, I will declare a pecuniary interest related to this item, given that my employer may have a pecuniary interest.
Okay, and thanks. Do you want to stick around for any other questions and discussions until there's a vote, or? Okay, all right. Noted, thanks for that. Councillor Huffman, and sorry, I'm looking for the slide one prior to this.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. Before we get started and kind of jump into the pool here, I just want to say that this is, and I want Al to be able to hear this as well, this is the most comprehensive response to a notice of motion that I have experienced in my time in council, and I would sincerely like to thank John and his team and Catherine and her team for all the hard work that they've done and being so prepared and coming for such an important topic and discussion. So anyways, I just want to say thank you very much before we get started.
All right, and for clarity, someone remind me, Councillor Huffman moves the motion. Did we get a seconder on that? Okay. So we are on discussion and debate for the motion before us, but we also have options presented by staff. So I'm not quite sure how to handle that. That's not a staff report. Councillor Van Passen.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. One thing that in that presentation that sort of stuck in my head was we've got these old Todd signs that need to be replaced in 2026. I'd sort of be hoping that they were replaced in April 2025. And I think that's what this motion is trying to push a little bit onto staff is we want something quick and all those things, and we want it done yesterday, right? It's so, maybe that's something they can look at. I don't know if there's other levels of government that you got to get all these approvals for, but, let's readjust the 2026 capital budget and get the signs fixed up right now.
All right, that doesn't answer my question. So we have Councillor Huffman's motion, and then we have two additional, I guess, we can deal with the motion, and if that passes, then have a secondary discussion around some specific items and or option 1 or 2. So the motion is before you, encouraging the support local initiative. You've just heard from staff some of the things that they are already working on for $0, and then there's the suggestion of additional budget. So maybe I can turn it back over to staff to comment on those two options. And I guess for me, it's conflicting if you're going to do the work already at $0, but there's a $20,000 budget component that's just for additional advertising. Can you comment?
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for that. Yeah, so we wanted to, first of all, identify that we were taking action right off from day one of recognizing the fact that tariffs were going to affect our business. And of course, continuing to pivot after Councillor Huffman's motion so that we could operate at the same speed as business, if you will. And so what we wanted to do is say that we've internally shifted some dollars on our own in our own budget that are directed to marketing, but now with the tone related to the buy local, shop Canadian, and enhancing the Visit Norfolk app. We're also indicating that we're going to increase the number of prints that the Simcoe Chamber of Commerce does of the experience guide. We're going to add some more dollars to that to print more. So we've reallocated some of our internal budgets, both in comms and in ECDev. So we wanted to at least identify the fact that we're already doing something, but we also understand the need that there is some concern about reaching those who may not have access to the digital media that we're so good at. And so the part 2 of the proposal, or the $20,000, speaks specifically to print, radio, pop-up banners that are really going to be servicing those who do not have access to digital.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, I was just thinking maybe we could wrap it into one. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. So out of curiosity here, we have this motion in front of us here that also indicates of, and the proactiveness of the campaign here. We already realize that it's a $20,000 campaign, that's the extra that you require, but it's in part of the motion. So if we were to vote positively for the motion, then talk about the cost, is that the way you'd like to proceed?
That was just what I was trying to seek clarification on, so I'm rereading the motion here. I don't think it includes anywhere that we would insert a dollar value.
Well, it says the report will be brought back to council outlining the proposed scope, potential cost, but since they are so proactive, they have the potential costs already.
Right, so we can strike item 4. I suppose that's a question for the mover, because a report can be brought back to council outlining the proposed scope, potential costs, and implementation timelines. Are you okay with the removal of that, Councillor Huffman, knowing that
it's here at the
now
bottom there.
therefore be it resolved? Number 3, also staff be directed. And item 3, staff be directed to explore the opportunities to realign county procurement. That was part of our discussion from the workshop. I think those are happening on a provincial level
Right.
with AMO, Western Wardens Caucus, among others. Al, is that something that you still think from a corporate perspective we should be spending resources on, or are you waiting for some direction on that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we are working with Western Ontario's Wardens Caucus. We are working through AMO. We are working through provincial advocacy groups and trying to get a sort of province-wide municipal response on how we're going to deal with these tariffs, should they come into effect in the next couple of weeks. But that is a decision for council to give to us. As I think you've heard, there is already a robust campaign ongoing in regards to a Shop Local campaign. And there's pros and cons to getting a little more enhanced and robust of a program.
Okay, so back to the mover. I'm just seeking clarification. Do you want item 3 to still be included, just given that it might be a bit redundant? Oh, I'm looking at our agenda, which is different than what's on our screen. In my agenda, it says... Okay, yeah, never mind. This is different. This is not the same as our agenda. Okay, so let's go through it line by line then. I don't want any confusion. Whereas Norfolk County, all of the above can stay. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Norfolk County Council support a joint initiative between economic development and communications to develop and implement a project that provides residents with accessible and informative resources on buying locally. Yes. 2, staff be directed to explore strategies, including digital and print campaigns, social media outreach, and community events to encourage and facilitate local shopping, community support. Yes. Item 3, a report be brought back to council outlining the proposed scope, potential, that's redundant. It's already been done here by staff. So Councillor Huffman was in agreement that 3 can be eliminated. And then I had 4, which is not on the screen, but in my agenda, it reads, it actually was item 3 in the agenda. Staff be directed to explore the opportunities to realign county procurement to purchase locally and Canadian products as a preference and when available. I think that that is also a bit redundant because we're going to be waiting for our legislative bodies to tell us what we can and cannot do. But I put that to the mover for clarity. Please.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. I do understand. I just wanted to clarify before I go on where the CAO mentioned that there's pros and cons in terms of going into a more robust campaign. Could you please explain the cons?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I think what you heard as part of the presentation is if 444 municipalities start promoting a buy local campaign, it may preclude options that we have to try to attract people from other municipalities to come to Norfolk to buy some things here, and so it starts to get some confusion in the marketplace if everyone is looking for a buy local. We already are doing a buy local. If you look at our app, our Visit Norfolk app, and some of the things that we're doing, what we're proposing, I think, in the motion is to enhance some of that. So start putting it on local media, start putting in local print, and things of that sort. And so that's really what we're talking about. Is we're already doing a lot of this. Is there a desire to make it a little more robust and a little more focused and spread some of the channels that we're working on to spread that word?
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Yeah, I want to see, and I think I do understand that there's, some hoops to jump through and some channels to go through, but that also becomes one of the most frustrating parts of being a councillor in not just Norfolk County, but I'm sure every area, is that things take too long. And going back to Councillor Van Passen, those signs need to be done now, not next April. And we do have the ability and the strategies to get some of these things done. And I think it's a time where, with the social climate out there, is that we need some good news, and we need to be the leaders in our community, and we need to let the residents know that we're looking out for everybody here. And the Ontario's Garden is vital, obviously, to a component to that. So I do really want to see a little bit more robust. I would like to hear ads on our local radio stations, in our newspapers. There's still a large demographic, and we know what the demographics are from our many reports that we've had in terms of, and we know that we do have areas in our community that do not have access to reliable internet and don't do the digital thing. I would love to see a banner on our website page that takes people right to this when they hop on Norfolk County instead of punching things in. So I just think it's a time to be a little bit more proactive with things and move a little bit quicker. I do understand that part of the motion in terms of the procurement piece is maybe that's something that we remove from this motion and we look at when we discuss Councillor Veery's motion. So I'm open to that discussion as well. But I don't want to give up too much of this motion. I feel really strongly about it, and those are my thoughts.
Okay, yeah, I think we can still achieve your motion in full but still strike item 4, just because staff are already doing it. They're waiting to hear from procurement, insurance, legal, as is AMO, as is the province, as is Western Wardens Caucus. So if you're in agreement with that, that will still come once staff receive an update from powers that be above us. So that boils it down to just supporting Councillor Huffman's motion for the joint initiative between economic development and comms to buy locally and explore additional strategies, print campaign, social media outreach, and community events to facilitate local shopping and community support. Are there any discussions or debate on the motion, Councillor Columbus?
Madam Mayor, the Todd signs have come up questioned a couple times here at this meeting. Just wonder, what oversight do we have on the Todd's signs? Can anybody answer that? Do we have control over it, or is it the province?
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you for the question, Councillor Columbus. We have full control over what goes on the signs. And in fact, we do have budget for 2025 that we could put them up. One of the things that we wanted to do is change the design from the toes in the sand to something more agritourism related that aligns with our strategy. So we have floated some of the designs through EDAC, through your Economic Development Advisory Committee, and also the Agriculture Advisory Committee. and also through SLT. So right now it would be a matter of just doing some redesigns, and we could probably get them up with MTO approval taking maybe 3 months. If we have to get a new design approved, MTO will take about 3 months to approve. If we go with the existing ones, they could probably go up in about 30 days, 45 days.
All right, so we're focusing on the motion, though, first and foremost. We've got a lot on the go. So final call for discussion, debate. And this is just supporting. This doesn't include a dollar value. We're going to do that next. Okay, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. So now the second part that I think is important direction to provide, staff mentioned, if we could get the slide, please, with the two options. There's a lot that's going on in normal course under the normal budget from communications and economic development that has been reallocated to prioritize this. And then there's an extended campaign suggestion. Are there any questions for staff on these two specific? Councillor Huffman?
Thank you, Mayor Martin. I just want to ensure that option 2 includes all of the above in option 1. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Vanden Driesche.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. I would support the 20,000 that is required. I feel it's important to be able to hit everyone, and I don't like to exclude anyone. And I think these are difficult times, and this 20,000 could be well used to inform our local public about how to support locally and make the difference here in Norfolk County. Thank you.
That's a motion.
Yes, it's a motion.
Seconded by Councillor Huffman. Debate and discussion. Councillor Van Passen.
Sometimes the precise wording would be beneficial. Are you suggesting that up to $20,000 be taken from the council initiative reserve to fund an extended campaign for what is this whole program called? Buy Local campaign?
Yes, that's absolutely right.
Yeah. So add in the up to, and the source of it is the council initiative reserve.
We had discussed that. That's right.
Okay. Questions, comments? Question for staff. I actually didn't hear you say it was required, the 20,000. But however, Councillor Van Passen's clarifying language brings me some level of comfort, because that means you don't have to spend 20,000. And the reason why I care is I think just if the tariffs are going to come, it's not solely a municipal property tax payer's responsibility to bolster our economy and the greater economic development concerns that follow that. So I guess, what is the position on the 20,000? Is it required? Could you go take from it as needed to produce additional results? Do you need to spend it all in full?
I'll take that, Madam Mayor. So I think the up to is appropriate. And I think based on how we can leverage those advertising dollars with our other partners, such as WWC, if they plan something, if SCORE is planning something, and if our tourism, our Regional Tourism Alliance. So we would try to leverage as much of that money as possible to not hit the 20.
Further to that, if the 20,000 is allocated, it's really intended, as printed here, to be for advertising purposes only. Whereas I'm thinking about some initiatives that Western Wardens Caucus and AMO would be doing, and they have their own budget. But if they needed additional support to collect specifics on manufacturing sector jobs that could directly be impacted by the tariffs right here in Norfolk instead of a regional approach. Is this something that you have resources for? Or if they had a question about produce specifically from Norfolk County growers, over 60% of their produce is going to the states, and that's going to impact Norfolk County growers specifically. If we needed some data and metrics around that to create an argument for upper levels of government to support our community, do you have funding for that type of work?
Thank you for the question, Madam Mayor. Yes, I would say that the 20,000 would be specific to as it's outlined in the budget, and the other work that we would do with WOWC or our RTO would be within an existing budget. Obviously, within certain reasons, we don't have an endless budget, as you know, and our budgets are tight and mostly committed for 2025. But at this time, we would try to leverage what we currently have to offset that. And on the data side, we tend to buy data every year anyways, when it becomes available. So we do have a small data budget.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Just for context, for your information, also, I think it's just appropriate to share now. It shouldn't impact your decision, but the Economic Development Team has on the tariff website, I just looked it up, they have a Western Wardens Caucus survey for business owners locally collecting that type of data. Really great information that would be helpful, that will go directly to the province. And for your information, AMO just allocated another $200,000 to work on a tariff Canadian campaign that will help municipal partners, and that's in addition to $300,000. So there's $500,000 being spent on the AMO level to help municipalities with this as well. So we should get some more support and information soon on all of the above. Okay, so the motion is to work on option 2, which is endorse the extended campaign with up to $20,000 from the Council Initiative Reserve. Understood? Moved by Councillor Vanadrischi, seconded by Councillor Huffman. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. And now, do you want to provide any comments on the sign? That came up a couple of times. John, Mr. Regan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I think what maybe the next appropriate step would be is for staff to put together a small information report and bring back to council with those Todd signs if you want, or we can proceed internally to produce those signs, but an information report might be warranted.
Councillor Huffman.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. I don't want an information report or anything like that. I would like us to, I think the consensus around the table from what I was gathering from my colleagues with head nodding and the things that they've said is that we would like to see these changed as soon as possible. Tariff war or no tariff war, those signs need to change. They're old, they're outdated, they don't grab the eye, you know, kind of thing. So I think it's necessary. It makes sense. We've got the warmer weather coming up. We've got lots of tourism happening in the, you know, the months of June, July, August, September. So I would like to see us get them up and going as soon as possible.
Over to our CAO.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I would suggest to council that we do bring something back, and I'll tell you why. We've got one opportunity to get this right, and the visuals are going to be very important, and I would be hesitant to move ahead with specific visuals without council first giving us your feedback on what some of those visuals will look like. It's a very important decision for this council to make, and I want this council to be able to look at those visuals and give us the thumbs up before we proceed.
I'm just thinking back to, we had a lot of discussion around our branding earlier on in this council, and none of us were on the same page with the Ontario's Garden logo and whatnot, and I would hate to put staff in a position where they're spending time on something that doesn't see a lot of public input. Councillor Huffman, then Barry.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Martin. I just wanted to say I never thought that they would be going forward without us seeing what was going on them. I just don't want to waste a whole month or whatever waiting for something to come back to a council meeting, and then we wait for a design, and then we wait for, it's just a lot of waiting. My intention is that they would get moving on this as soon as possible, and that at the next proper timing, whether it be CIC or whether we call a special council meeting, that we would then see the proofs of what the signs would look like. I just don't want this waiting.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we're a couple of weeks away from a CIC meeting. We have worked and we've seen a series of drafts on what some of those visuals could look like. And so we could certainly be here in a couple of weeks' time at CIC and present you with some of those visuals.
Councillor Barry.
Thanks, Mayor. So I'll just add that, you know, Mr. Regan there, John as I like to call him, he mentioned that the designs had gone to committees, various committees, and I was at the Economic Development Advisory Committee when they came forward, and I would say that you got a lot of pretty good feedback, some you liked and maybe some you didn't, and fair enough, but I guess what I'm saying is like they've heard a lot of not direction, because we can't give direction, but certainly some design concerns about, you know, only farm designs and these types of things where there's lots of things to offer, and perhaps pushing, you know, small towns like the downtowns and those things, and pushing the waterfront and all these, a diverse mix might be better. So I guess what I'm getting at is you know, I don't mind seeing them as council, but I don't know that we necessarily will. Are we giving direction on design now, I guess? Is that what we're trying to do? And if not, or if so, then okay, but if not, I think you've got a lot of good feedback, and I don't know where I'm going except to say that they've already heard it from committees, and I think you've got a good sense of what's going on, correct? So.
Okay, CAO said he can have something back to us with John. John's already have some working drafts as well as consultation from our groups, so can we leave the signs there until they come back? And you've heard Councillor Huffman wants it done soon, Councillor Van Passen wants it done soon. Okay, was your comment about signs, or can we move on? Councillor Van Passen.
Yeah, but I think this would be the point, that we also know that you got to get a hold of the province, make arrangements to do all these signs. You got to be able to like multitask a little bit. That, like, you know, I've tried to call the province before, and you don't get a hold of a human being for a week. So start that process with the MTO or whoever department is responsible. You know, we'll see some designs in 2 weeks at CIC, but the process is, if we approve them approve a motion to get the signage fixed today, when we see the final designs on CNC, they can go ahead with them. They don't have to wait another 2 weeks for council to approve the minutes of the CIC meeting, because we can approve that a day and just look at those drafts or the different examples of the new signage on that day and pick one. So let's get the process moving. You can do more than one step of it. Like everything we do, it's one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. You can do more than one at a time.
I don't know what that means. Are you wanting to provide direction to staff to speak
Provide
to
a
the
motion
province?
today that we replace the Todd signage, there's 4 of them, with new mock-ups of the design to be presented at CIC. We approve that today.
To be presented
They can
at
contact
CIC.
MTO, start that process. We look at the signs. If we find something we're happy with at CIC, they already have the approval to put them up and get
Okay,
a
understood. I
bid
was
them
looking
built.
for a motion. So there's motion on the floor. I'm going to go to John, and then I will get a seconder and Councillor Huffman. Go ahead. Do you want to comment on that? Is there...
I guess, yes, I do. Thank you very much for that. So we have been in direct contact with MTO and with the folks who support the Todd sign. So we actually have 4 approved that could go up. And the reason why we had to pre-approve them is we wanted to test the fact that we wanted different images on each of the 4 signs and not use the same image on each sign. So we were kind of going out of our lines a little bit. We did get approval. We think approval could take, once we come back, so I guess my point is the process has started. They know that we want to change them. We have budget to change them. It's just be a matter of getting final nod from council and get the final approvals done. And
All
then
right.
we're at the
Good. So Councillor Huffman seconds, so we're going to give you the final approval, and then you'll come back with some more details and mock-up. All right. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Councillor Breton.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Martin. My question's to John. John, do you have a list? 2 parts to it. I'm looking at, like, what do we, as Norfolk County purchase outside? Do you have a list of that? No? And what else? And second would be what Norfolk County businesses export. Do you have a list of that? Or import, I guess, from businesses. I know how some of the agriculture stuff works, but I'm looking at Toyo Tetsu. I'm looking at the trailer manufacturer and Cortland, those kind of things. Do you have a list of that stuff or no?
Through you, Madam Chair, on the what we export and what we import, absolutely we have some data. So for example, on the manufacturing side, we export just about $2.2 billion a year, and on the agriculture, $633 million a year. So we have a list of all the exports. I think we're close to about $5.5 billion that we export as a county as a whole, and we could certainly break that down. On the procurement side, I would need to defer to one of my colleagues. I'm sorry, I don't know what we purchase from outside of Norfolk or outside of the country, if I understood the question correctly.
Get those lists. I'd like to know the actual manufacturer business that's doing it. Not the dollar value, that's fine if you have that, but I want to know, like I understand Stelco and I understand the aluminum, how it comes from Quebec, some of that stuff. I want to know in Norfolk County the details, I guess. And I don't need the agriculture. I think I got a good handle on that. So.
And furthermore, can we get your slides? You had some good data in your package there. Okay, all right,
Yes.
Let's move along. Thank you. Now over to Councillor Berry for his motion, and Councillor Duthie is going to rejoin us.
Okay, excuse me. Thank you, Mayor, for that, and thank you again to the rest of the council there for letting this jump ahead a couple weeks. So it's related, I guess, to the discussion that we're having now. And what I'm hoping is, it sort of started in my head there thinking about Stelco mostly, and the other, steel workers and industry workers that we have, and manufacturing is so important to our community. And so what I would like to do, the gist of it, you'll see in the motion there, but the gist of it is I would like Norfolk County staff to take a look at our capital plan and see if there are jobs that we can jump ahead in the schedule where they don't create a problem or don't create any urgency. So I don't want to, pause a vital repair of something in order to move another job ahead. But where we can, to prioritize jobs that would especially use, steel that is made in Canada, preferably, in our area, but also other made in Canada materials or made in Norfolk materials, and take a look at some of the contracts we have up and see if we can get more local providers. There's several reasons I want to do this. One is that it's another way to support the local economy. These steelworker families, manufacturing families are huge. They contribute a lot to the local economy, but also our community's makeup. Two, it gives us an opportunity to put this motion and our resolution, if it's successful, out to other communities, like the 444 municipalities. If we take this opportunity to encourage all those municipalities to take a look at their capital plans and make some decisions to use made in Canada materials and steel that's made in our in our area by Norfolk County residents, that's a good thing too. And I realize that we're not going to move the needle a ton by doing this, but it moves the needle a little bit. And I think it's important to recognize this other part of the economy that we talk about, tourism and agriculture, a lot, but there are a lot of people that work in manufacturing that are impacted. So what I'm asking is staff come back with a report and say, can we move some of our capital around? My hope here is that at the very least, if nothing changes and if no needle is moved, that other parts of our economy knew that we were thinking about them during this tariff and trying to make decisions that supported their jobs too, because I really don't want to be in a position where somebody asked me one day, what did you do or what did council do? And I can't come up with an answer for those people. I want to say we did this. There's not something we can do a lot of at the municipality, but we did what we could, and that's where I'm at. So that's my motion. You see it there, but essentially it boils down to, can we look at our capital plan and can we send this out to other municipalities and encourage them to do the same thing?
One question, just because I think there's a financial component on sending it out to other municipalities, and it's probably to our clerk. When we circulate to all our partners, do they charge us for that? It doesn't? Okay, good. All right, didn't know if there needed to be an amendment. Okay, the motion is before you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Huffman seconds. Discussion and debate. Councillor Van Passen.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And I do understand this was brought forward a little quicker because of the other item on the agenda, but I like this concept, but this one, the motion that's on the floor speaks pretty specifically to the steel industry and all that sort of thing. And I wonder if, this motion has kicked in some good ideas in people's heads, and, is there a different way to look at this rather than specifically talking about the steel industry and all that good that they do? And could we look at our capital budget to see if, I know last couple of years we had a bunch of repairs and maintenance that just doesn't get done because we didn't have enough staff to supervise the projects. And in the budget last spring or last winter, we increased and gave an extra person because we're behind on the maintenance of our buildings and structures. And maybe a lot of those smaller type jobs that are more likely to be bid on and accepted by local contractors and local businesses, is there room to move a few of them up as a general idea rather than specifically talking about the steel industry and the trying to find things that fit in with the steel industry? Because any big uses of steel we'd be a year engineering the new bridge before we'd get enter into a contract. We're 2 years out on that kind of stuff. So are there other things that we might be able to do in a different way that would hopefully be beneficial to smaller local contractors instead of the big picture items? So I'll even ask the mover if he has any comments on my comments.
Yep, Councillor Berry, and then I'll get a staff comment.
Yeah, I think it's a great suggestion. Again, I wasn't, just to clarify, because maybe I didn't say it right before, I wasn't talking about engineering new projects. It was more about if this project was going to be done in 2027, can we do it now if it makes us use more materials, if it doesn't affect service delivery? So yeah, new projects, understood, but I was talking about ones that are already approved. But absolutely, if we can put a motion forward that says we're going to buy, more lumber locally and more mulch and more whatever we make here and whatever we dig up here and whatever we can produce here, or within the region even, yeah, I'm all about it, man. This isn't just about one sector, but it came to mind because this is a sector we don't talk about a ton through our normal course of action as opposed to tourism and agriculture. So whatever we can do to support more people, I'm in favor of.
Okay, can I get a comment from staff? I don't know if that's Heidi or Al or maybe even Andrew. I just, obviously this is a great motion and a great amendment. I just don't understand how, if it's procurement, how it's not the same conversation we had last week with the prioritizing local, unless I'm missing something.
So thank you, Mayor Martin. Through you to council, if we look at our capital plan and we look at prioritizing certain projects based on whatever criteria council directs, including the type of project, so all projects that might use steel, or all projects that might use mulch, or all projects that might use lumber, we still have to work within the boundaries of our purchasing policy and the trade agreements to which we are subject, including the CETA, which is the bilateral trade agreement that we have with the European Union that requires us to follow specific procurement regulations, one of which is that we cannot give preference to bidders based on their location, or we can't give local preference. So as we've talked about before, we are currently looking at our procurement policy. We're looking at things like our thresholds for smaller order purchases, which allows us to go out and get specific quotes for work in order to broaden the scope of where we might be able to have greater support for some local businesses. But it is in the same vein, I believe, as the other discussion that we had related to, needing to take some guidance from our partners provincially, federally, and everyone who's doing work on this. And I'll ask the CAO to comment as well.
Through you, Madam Mayor, when I read the motion, if I read it properly, the desire is for us to look at our capital forecast in the coming years and perhaps tweak our project scopes to identify projects or bidders that would give preferential treatment to Canadian steel producers and Canadian steel content. And depending on the legislation, we may or may not be able to do that. But the other question that needs to be answered is, if it results in a 30%, 40%, 50% price increase, is that something that council still wants us to consider moving forward with?
Okay, I'll go to Councillor Berry to clarify those.
So that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, if there are projects that are already approved, and we know that they're going to use materials that are made in Canada, can we move those projects up in the schedule? I'm not talking about giving preferential treatment to bidders. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm saying, look, if we were going to fix that building and it required materials that we need and we were going to do it in 2027, can we try to fix the building next year so that we can order more stuff that we were going to be using anyways sooner? I'm not talking about changing procurement. What I wanted to hear here was, yes, wherever we are able, we're going to make this effort to do this to support local industry and local producers. What I didn't want to hear was, here's all the reasons that we can't support our local economy. I know what those are. We all know what those are. What I want to hear is, yeah, we're going to make an effort wherever possible within the guidelines and wherever we can within the schedule, within the work that we're already doing. We're going to take some time here and say, look, we can move this up and this back because it's going to help local workers and a local business. That's all I'm asking.
So just for clarity, what you're suggesting is that you're looking for us where it's possible within the legislative framework that we have to follow, if we can find suppliers that will give preferential treatment to Canadian suppliers, we should look at that.
I didn't ask anything about preferential treatment. What I said was, if we are going to do a capital job, if we're going to replace a bunch of pipes or whatever it is, and there's no change in service because it's just the normal course of work, can we do the ones that use whatever materials first, as opposed to ones that don't use the materials? I'm not talking about preferential treatment. I'm talking about our own scheduling. That's all I'm asking.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and I don't want to get into a debate. I'm just not sure how we would know whether a supplier is going to use a Canadian-made steel product or not, unless they specify that in their bids to us. It's, we can certainly...
Can we ask them?
We can, but we probably can't, because then we're probably going to be looking that we're trying to fix the bids that are coming in to give preferential treatment. And I know that's not what you want, but that's what you're basically asking us to do. So I would say if this is something that council wants us to look at, we can certainly bring that back to council. We would have to work with legal counsel and specifically our procurement and lawyers to see whether this is something that can be considered as part of our legislative framework that we have to follow.
I've got Councillor Duthie and Brunton. One question that comes to mind for Heidi is, could our bids have like an open space for additional comments? And if a local, or if any bidder wanted to say, hey, FYI, this is my price and it includes local wood, local cleaning products, then we are fulfilling what Councillor Berry is asking of us. You're still going to execute on what the legislation requires, and then you come to council regularly with your capital or your what's used through delegated authority or the capital plan, and you could say this, and this was not the lowest price per bid, but comments included. And it would demonstrate, Councillor Berry wants us to make the effort and be able to tell our constituents we're making the effort. And it would also give us the business case on where that effort didn't fully come to fruition, and therefore we can continue to lobby AMO, the province, and the federal government to help us change the legislation by which you are handcuffed. So all of that to say, is there a spot on the bids and tenders we could include an open section for any type of miscellaneous comment?
So Mayor Martin, through you, I think that is something certainly that we can take back and review with our procurement staff and the procurement office. I think that where we would just need to be certain that we were not considering that in the scoring. So that is where we have to make sure that we're staying within the boundaries. I agree with the CAO that if this is the direction that council would like to go in, certainly we would be happy to take that back and do a thorough investigation of it and see what options we can bring forward to council to support the direction that council, to try and support the direction that council would like to go in, while still working within the boundaries of the legislation.
Okay, Councillor Duthie and Brenton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, I really appreciate the gist of where Councillor Very is trying to go with this, and I think that there probably is some intention around this table for us to look towards that. I think I have two questions. First to Ms. Van Dyke. If I'm understanding correctly, say we were to do this and realign some of our capital projects that we assume would require more steel or more softwood lumber or more whatever that is Canadian. If I'm understanding correctly, based on the procurement policy and applicable legislation, even still we couldn't guarantee that that's what would be used in the current environment, right?
Madam Mayor, that is correct.
So it would be a lot of work for no guarantee that we'd be going that direction. I guess, and my second question, I think probably to the CAO, some of our capital projects, there's a trickle-down effect in that, certain things need to be done in a certain time frame before the next thing could be done. I don't know an exact example, but I wonder if you have any comment related to how that would change our workflow for our staff.
I think through you, Madam Mayor, I think Councillor Duthie, you're referring to typically on large capital projects, we do design work 1 year and then construct the next year to further define that scope of that project before we go out to tender. I'm not sure it would have much of an impact. I think the impact might come from looking at our capital forecast and looking to group some projects and different things, but that's certainly something that would take some considerable effort from staff to try to realign project years, and try to bring some projects forward that would require more of a content in certain industries and things. So certainly a good idea, certainly worthy of further exploration. It's just, I'd be hesitant to say let's approve this without getting some additional feedback for council first.
Thanks for that. I really like the approach and the direction that we're trying to go. I'm not sure this is it, but I'd love to keep exploring it.
Councillor Brenton in Columbus, and maybe, because I agree with you, the motion, I like what it says. And so maybe part of it gets parked, and maybe this gets sent off to our partners at the province and at AMO to show some of our hurdles. Like maybe there's a revision of the motion that executes on what we're trying to do and why we're not able to get to the finish line, and it's to lobby. It also demonstrates to our constituents that we are trying to advocate for our products and our jobs, our livelihood, until such time as staff can return back with information on procurement with the AMO policy documentation that spreads out across all of the province, but then it's not lost time for Councillor Berry's suggestion. Councillor Brenton, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Martin. Andrew might want to jump in on this, but I have a real reluctancy to start dictating on some of our capital projects to a contractor that you got to use a certain material made in Canada. I have no problem if it's we're revamping a pickleball court or something like that, if it's all Canadian. But to start and tell a contractor that he's in a bridge deck or something, and then it fails, who's responsible? We are, because we told him he had to use that. Anyways, much of our capital works for, and Andrew, you correct me if I'm wrong, for roads and sewers and all that, those products are all Canadian pretty much. Do we still have Ontario provincial standards?
Through the chair, yes, that is correct. There is Ontario provincial standards, and you are right. A lot of the material for our road-related projects, they are sourced more locally. Pipe, road, backfill, that type of thing. You don't want to be hauling that any further than you have to, so they generally come from anywhere near us. Bridge decks and specialized equipment in water plants, that's where you're bringing material in from further abroad, which would include some US-based products, but also things from Europe and other countries as well.
And if we start dictating, would you agree that we're opening ourselves up? If we dictate they must use a Canadian product to replace those, is that going to be a problem?
Through the chair, I think there is some complexities with that. It may impact their manufacturing process in terms of where they get the material, and I could see also some price implications if we're dictating material specific. Certainly get the councillor's motion and happy to look at our capital program and see where there is some opportunities, but I do see some challenges with it.
Thank you.
Just to be clear, fair questions, but I don't think the motion wants us to dictate. He's just suggesting that staff should encourage it and we should encourage it. So we wouldn't be turning any bids away, just for clarity. Councillor Columbus.
Madam Mayor, when can we expect this motion to be coming back before council? April?
We did a 2/3 majority today, so this is a motion.
It could be done today?
Yes.
Okay, I have the same sentiment as Councillor Broughton. I'm worried we're getting too deep in the weeds here with respect to this.
Okay, I'm going to, Councillor Michelli.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I think Councillor Very's motion is an excellent approach and an excellent idea, but I too do have some reservations that we could be jumping into an area here that we're not totally prepared for, and it could become pretty complex, and I'd hate to, for the sake of maybe a couple of weeks, jump into something that we're not really ready for.
Councillor Berry, would you like to close us out?
Well, I didn't intend to dictate materials that would cause a bridge to fail. I just was saying the stuff we were going to do anyways, could we do it sooner? That's all I was trying to get at. So I wasn't trying to change materials or change the process or change anything like that. I just thought, man, if there's one job that isn't going to use stuff that's made here and there's another job that will, that we would do the one that will first. That's all I was getting at. And it says right in the thing, as long as there's no disruption to service or other negative impacts. I feel like saying where there are no negative impacts would include stuff that's illegal or stuff that would violate our relationship with European trade or that a bridge would fail. Like, I didn't want to cause a problem here. It was just, this job doesn't require this stuff. This job does. Let's do the one that does. That's really all I was getting at here. Is just a very general, can we look at this and say, let's fix this thing first. But like I say, if this is a problem, fair enough. It's just, I don't know what else we can do to try to help show people that work in other industries that we don't talk about a lot, that we are making decisions with them and their families in mind as well. And that was my attempt here, is to say, look, what are we doing to support manufacturing? This is what we're going to do. And if there's a better way to do that, I'm all ears, but I didn't want to leave that sector and the families that rely on it and work in our communities out in the cold. That's all I was trying to get to.
Quick question for you, Councillor Berry, from me before I call the question. Would you be open to an amendment that has staff look at this and report back to us in case there's something they're not thinking of today, and then your motion, if it's not successful, is not dead on the floor?
Love it.
Okay. Councillor Van Passen?
Well, I could make a motion separate of that, just refer this motion to staff, and that's what it means, right? So.
I can't remember who second, Councillor Huffman was. Are you in support of us just amending this motion to say to send it to staff and review it? Then it's not dead in the water, and if there's something they're not thinking of, or there are projects that don't need to go out, could be single source, maybe we're able to do that and it's not that much.
Yeah, and I think, yes, Mayor Martin, I am fine with that. And I think there's something to be said for the fact, going back to a term we used to use a lot, sometimes it's good not to make big decisions on the fly, so we can kind of send it back to staff and go from there. And I do understand precisely, Councillor Very, what you were trying to get at. And I think maybe it got lost in the weeds somewhere in terms of, and I'm with you, it's frustrating when you always hear why you can't do something, and as opposed to people saying, wow, that's a great idea, let's see how we can make this happen. So I'm good with that amendment.
Okay, we are amending the motion that it's providing direction to staff for a report that will return to us. They can review and see where there are efficiencies to support local. Everyone understood? Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you, everyone. With that, that puts a bow on our motions. We don't have any notice of motions. And I think we can pick this up when we get an update on procurement and all of those other great things. There are 2 late closed session items today. I would be looking for a mover and a seconder to enter into closed at 3:55 p.m. pursuant to Section 239 2B of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, as the subject matter pertains to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Moved by. Okay, also there will be approval of closed session minutes, October 9th, November 19th, December 17th, February 25th, and March 11th. Moved by Councillor Brunton, seconded by Councillor Vanadrishi. All in favor? That's carried.
Ahmed from Norfolk County Planning Department. We've got a lot of questions here, and this video series will answer some of those. What is a subdivision? If a landowner would like to divide their property into 3 pieces of land, they can submit a severance application that we explained earlier. Whereas a subdivision application is required when a landowner has a piece of land large enough to divide into more than 3 or 4 individual lots to build new houses or other kind of developments. The subdivision process generally requires a more in-depth review with a longer processing time to ensure that the development meets county's development standards. What is a condominium? A condominium, often known as a condo, is an ownership model where the building or group of buildings is divided into multiple units that are surrounded by common areas for circulation, servicing, or amenities such as parks and open spaces. The common areas are jointly owned and managed by the owners of the units. Residential condominiums are frequently constructed as apartment buildings and townhouses with private roads. Many shopping malls are also commercial condominiums in which the individual retail and office spaces are owned by businesses that occupy them, while the common areas of the mall are collectively owned by these business entities. A condominium corporation is often made up of condo unit owners who manage and operate the condominium complex. What is the difference between a subdivision and a condominium? One of the main differences between a subdivision and a condominium development is who is responsible for providing services such as water, wastewater, and road maintenance after the construction and occupancy of the dwellings or units. In a subdivision, the county takes responsibility for providing these services to individual lots. On the other hand, in a condominium, the county is only responsible to providing services up to the entry point of the development. The condominium is responsible for distributing services and the maintenance to the individual units. How are subdivisions and condominiums approved? To get approval for a subdivision or condominium, the landowner must apply for approval of a draft of the plan that shows how many lots are proposed, the lot size, how the lots will be accessed, including any new roads, and how the lots will be serviced for water and wastewater or other utilities. The planning team will provide guidelines to the landowner on the standards they need to comply with. Examples include road design, tree plantation, fencing requirements, and maintaining a buffer from any existing industrial or commercial sites, etc. Generally, the subdivision applications go to council for a decision, whereas most of the condominium applications are currently approved by the county staff under delegated authority. How are residents informed about a new subdivision? When a draft plan of a subdivision is approved, the neighbors receive an approval notice of the application. The neighbors have 20 days to appeal against the approval or refusal of the draft plan. Once the appeal period has expired, there is still a lot of work that needs to be done by the developer before beginning the construction. An approved draft plan of subdivision does not constitute a legal lot. It is merely a draft plan. Norfolk County must ensure that all lots are appropriately designed and serviceable through a subdivision agreement, and only then can the lots be registered and the owner can apply for a building permit. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842, or email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching. Hi, I am Mohammed from Norfolk County Planning Department. We get a lot of questions here, and this video series will answer some of those. What is site plan control? Site plan control is a tool that planners use to evaluate a proposed development to ensure the site features and elements such as walkways, parking areas, and landscapings, and many other technical features meet specific standards. For example, standards may include engineering design, sustainability, and universal accessibility for barrier-free access to the building or within the property. What do I do if I have submitted a permit and I have learned my property is under site plan control? If a property is under a site plan control, the first step is to speak with a planner. A planner will need to learn about what is changing about the lands, which may or may not require a site plan application. What is a site plan waiver? Sometimes the nature of a development is so minor that a site plan application is determined to be unnecessary. In this instance, a site plan control will be waived. If you have learned from a planner that it is appropriate to waive a site plan control, you can submit an application form with any required documents to the planning department to receive a site plan waiver. Do all lands require site plan control? Not all lands require site plan control. For example, single detached dwellings, semi-detached dwellings, and townhouses that are serviced and accessed from a public road. Agricultural activities or farm buildings also do not require a site plan control. Most new commercial, institutional, and industrial developments require a site plan control. A site plan agreement with the landowner may be required to ensure that appropriate standards are maintained during the construction period. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact the planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842, or email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching.
Hey Norfolk County! Whether you're a longtime resident, new to the area, or simply visiting, do you know about the many services provided by Norfolk County? As a single-tier municipality, we provide services that our community uses every day, including water and fire protection, curbside garbage and recycling, road and sidewalk maintenance, and so much more. We also provide services needed at unique times in life, such as a marriage or business license, or a dog tag for your new companion. And the unique geographic features in Norfolk County, from farmland and forests to lakes and wetlands, means we also provide specialized services ranging from drainage applications to tree inspections. Wondering how to contact Norfolk County? Start with Service Norfolk. Our friendly team of agents is here to help. Reach us by phone at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk from 8:30 to 4:30 Monday to Friday. Calling about an issue after hours? No problem. We have you covered. Prefer online? Email askus@norfolkcounty.ca anytime, or use our customer service portal at service.norfolkcounty.ca and get a reply right to your email inbox. Want to visit us in person? Come to one of our friendly customer service counters in Simcoe, Monday to Friday, or Delhi, Tuesday to Thursday. Service Norfolk, connecting you to Norfolk County services.
Deputations are a way for you and all residents of Norfolk County to speak before council about relevant matters in our community. To begin, search www.norfolkcounty.ca. Then select the Government tab. Under the Government tab, select Provide Deputation / Speak at a Council or Committee Meeting. This page provides general information regarding deputations. Under the subheading Register to Speak, click the Public Hearing / Deputation Form link to pre-register your deputation. Notice of Collection. By checking the Notice of Collection box, you are agreeing to the above statement. Selecting the type of meeting you want. There are several types of meetings that allow deputations. Please listen closely as we explain each option. Council meeting. Council deputations must pertain to a matter listed on the upcoming meeting agenda. For the remaining meeting choices, you may present a deputation if the topic pertains to the committee you are presenting to. Once you select the type of meeting you want to deliver your deputation, you can complete the rest of the document. Now choose whether you will attend the meeting in person or virtually. Finally, select if you will be providing materials during your deputation. If you have materials for distribution during the council meeting, please bring 15 hard copies for council and staff. Now click Next to move to Step 2. In Step 2, please fill out your personal information. Once your personal information is completed, click Next. Lastly, review your information and select Next to submit your form. You have now completed the deputation request form. You will receive a confirmation email from the Clerk's Department that they've received your request. Next, we will talk about what to do on the day of your deputation.
So, you've received your approval and the day of your deputation is upon you. For starters, council is located here, at 50 Colburn Street. Now there's two entrances you can use when you arrive. One is here, located off Colburn, and one located off Talbot Street. When you arrive, you'll have three main options to park. The first is to park at the Simcoe Town Center Mall, which is where Food Basics is located. Your second option is 2-hour street parking on Court Street. And your third option is 2-hour street parking on Lott Street. If you can't find any parking in any of those three options, don't worry. Downtown Simcoe has plenty of street parking in all of the surrounding areas. If you enter through the Colburn Street doors, you'll have to make your way through the building to get to council chambers. But don't worry, if you require any assistance, you can feel free to ask Service Norfolk at the front desk. Make your way along this path and you'll end up in the main lobby. To your left, there'll be an elevator. You can either ring the bell or go ask the people at the front desk for assistance. If you don't need to use the elevator, you can head on up the green staircase and go up to council chambers. If you enter through the Talbot Street doors, the elevator will be immediately in front of you, or the green staircase will be ready for you to go up and deliver your presentation. Once you reach the top of the stairs, you'll have made it to council chambers. Feel free to take a seat here or here and wait for council to call your name when it's time to present. When council calls your name, make your way to the podium and ensure that you don't walk between the railing and the chairs on your way there. When you arrive at the podium, adjust it to your desired height using the arrow buttons and turn the microphone on using the button on the right. If you're giving your deputation in front of council, begin by saying, "Through the mayor." If you're giving it in front of a committee, begin by saying, "Through the chair." Then, clearly state your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes to give your presentation. Upon having 1 minute remaining, the chair will give you notice. When you're finished your presentation, council may have questions for you. Ensure that you always begin your answer by saying, "Through the mayor," or "Through the chair" to councilor, and their last name. If you can't answer the question, that's okay. Inform council that you'll gather more information and get back to them. After that, council will have heard out what you've had to say, and they'll take appropriate action as they deem necessary. And now, you've finished your deputation. You can either have a seat and watch the rest of the meeting, or you can leave through the door that you came in and ensure that you leave as quietly as possible.
Hey Norfolk County, did you know that Ride Norfolk is now on demand? This means you can schedule Norfolk's public transit service to pick you up for appointments, shopping, school, or work. Ride Norfolk has partnered with Blaze Transit to offer on-demand pickups at all 95 Okay, motion to reconvene in open session at 4:08 p.m., please. Moved by Councillor Vanden Drieschie, seconded by Councillor Brunton. All in favor? Carried. And a mover and a seconder to receive the following minutes: October 9th, November 19th, December 17th, February 25th, and March 11th from closed session as information. Moved by Councillor Michele, seconded by Councillor Vanadrischi. All in favor? Carried. And a motion to approve bylaw 2025-16, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council. Moved by Councillor Columbus, seconded by Councillor Huffman. That bylaw 2025-16, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council in Norfolk County of this regular council meeting held on the 25th day of March 2025, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed in open council. All in favor? Carried. And Councillor Huffman moves for adjournment at 4:09 p.m., seconded by Councillor Michele. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much, everyone. Good night.